Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome on back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We got fights again. It is UFC Vegas 107 fight week. And I know there's two things. There's two things that are already on your mind. Number one, Clint. Where's the baby blues? We are coming off a winning week. I know I brought you some content last week. We did a little recap stream last week, and I didn't rock the baby blues. Why? Because I wanted to wear them today. I wanted to come on the show today and remind everybody that we're coming off a dub. We used the anchor strategy. It paid off. We got a win, but where's the shirt? Today we got to go with the Trust Your Balls shirt instead because I lost it. I don't know. I'm ashamed to tell you guys. I have no idea where my Die Hard Stimulus Check t-shirt is right now. I hung it right there, and I made a mental note that I was going to keep it in a spot where I knew exactly where to get it. It would be waiting for me there on Monday, and our house is in total chaos right now. My wife doesn't know what things she's grabbed for laundry and what things she hasn't. There's about 6 containers of like clean and dirty clothes that I have to sift through and fold because we've been running around. My wife's aunt died, so she had to like drive out to California and back, and so like everything is just like lost and in transition right now. So I'm going to first start off by apologizing for the potential bad juju of not wearing the baby blues off of a winning week. And then number two, I know those of you who are a little more astute, those of you who consume a lot of content, you're just going, Clint, you sound like ass. What is with the audio? You promised us that you were going to... I know. I promised you guys that we would have good audio by today. And here's the thing. Brand spanking new microphone, okay? This thing is a beauty. She was not cheap. I am looking very much forward to bringing you amazing content using this microphone and my new stand, which hopefully will prevent future mic breakages. However, these jackwads are doing the same thing that like Apple does, where every single time they release a new phone, that charger is just a little bit different. So the cord that they sent in the box does not connect to your laptop. It only connects to itself for some godforsaken unknown reason. I have a 10-foot cord that goes from this microphone to nothing. And I don't understand why they would do that to me because, of course, I need to plug it into something. So I have to apparently go out there and pay again to get a cord that goes from microphone to laptop so I sound pretty for you guys. So I'm a little frustrated coming into the show today. I expected to be better off. I hope you can forgive me for one more week. I apologize. Welcome into the show. And after all that, we can actually get into some MMA for once. Dream in the house. My guy, Ethan Hershey. Good to see you, my friend. Dick's Insider. We've got Dylan, Cole, Jay, B, Punchlines, and Plot Twist Podcast making it for a live show for the first time. That's what's up. Louis, Mac, Jr., Sean Knuckle joining us from the Twitter sphere. What's going on? Stu in the house. Cole DeShazir. We've got Johnny Odinas. We've got the It Factor MMA. All the usuals rolling in here. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We have a fresh, steamy, hot dumpster to dive in for you because UFC Vegas 107 is one of those weeks where you look ahead and you're like, man, there's a couple of hidden gems on this card. And then as you're taping through it, you're like, oh boy. Oh, it's a good thing we are called the Die Hard MMA podcast because not everybody would want to go over this one. But that does not mean we're not going to give it the old college try. We're going to put our best foot forward, and I will bring you the best content I can. And the best content possible, as always, is by having the absolute best guest list in the entire game. Today, we've got none other than Brett Appley joining us on the show to break this card down. Brett, been a long time, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you. It has been a long time. I love how you had a steamy hot dumpster fire, and you thought, who better to bring on than Brett Appley here? No, the truth is we had a week off of fights before this, and so I'm good and ready for this card. And fights are always better than no fights, Clint. So there might only be 11 fights. They might not be the highest level fights, but I think there's going to be some fun matchups. And yeah, I'm excited to talk through them with you today.
I completely agree, man. And it's funny, I always have to apologize to the guests that end up on these cards. For you guys, peek behind the curtain. I book out weeks in advance because guys like Brett, they're very hard to get a hold of sometimes. Can't always make the show. So we got to plan ahead, okay? It's better for his schedule. It's better for my schedule. And when we do that, sometimes we don't even have the headliner when we book the show. So these cards come together, and then when it's just a giant stinking turd, it's like, man, like I've got this baller guest on the show, and we're going to talk about the worst fights the UFC possibly could bring to the table. So I apologize, of course, as you know, completely unintentional, but we're still going to have some fun getting through the rest of this bad boy anyway. I would ask how you did last week, but it was a break week. How'd you do the week before last week, man? How's your 2025 betting year going?
It's been going all right. Who was the last main event? I watched so many fights that, and I don't know if you can fully believe this or not,
it's
but
hard
as
to keep
soon
up.
As the fight ends, as soon as the card ends, it's erased from my memory until. So who was the last main event?
It was Gilbert Burns and Michael Morales.
Okay. So yeah, I need to go back through the entire card, but I do remember, at least from a DraftKings perspective, I wasn't extremely high on Morales. I was hoping the fight would last a little bit longer. Was fading that 2 knockdown early KO outcome from Morales, and that's kind of exactly what happened. But
Kid seems
I remember
to be
being a fun card. Yeah, I mean, he seems like a legit prospect, and looking forward to seeing him tested next time he steps into the octagon.
What do you make of the Leon Edwards matchup? That's the rumor. That's what's trending around right now, is they're doing Morales and Edwards next.
I mean, I've been so low on Edwards for so many years. I just don't love his style of fighting. So
Agreed.
I would have to think hard about that one. But Morales isn't the highest paced fighter in the world. So I would kind of expect, at least in comparison to Edwards fighting Sean Brady, fighting Bilal, Morales is going to give Edwards more of the kind of fight that Edwards can excel, where he can just, stand at distance and back himself up into the cage and pick apart Morales from the outside. But yeah, I'm interested. I mean, that's a good fight for both guys. And I would be down to see it.
Should be fun, man. I love that fight. Plus, I'm a notorious Leon Edwards hater, so I hope the kid just keeps his knockout streak going. Real quick, guys, before we get into it, we're going to pour one out for Carlos Hernandez. The Yakuza finally got their money's worth. The UFC's parting ways after he had to go against all of the high-tier Asian prospects that he could possibly handle. So thanks for playing, buddy. They're going to go ahead and get rid of him. And on that note, let's talk about UFC Vegas 107. Hit that like button for me, everybody. First fight of the night. We got Rayanne dos Santos, and she takes on Elise Ardelean. And this fight is an absolute mess, Brett. It's an absolute mess. So you have got Rayanne dos Santos, who, frankly, I thought was probably going to be a little something in the UFC. When I watched her in the LFA, she took out Jillian DeCourcy in a way that I've never seen anybody handle Jillian DeCourcy. Now, granted, Jillian's a little bit older, kind of coming towards the end of her career, etc., but she was a wily veteran. She's been around for a long time. She's always been tough, and she was getting rocked all around the cage by Rayanne dos Santos. It was like oh my Lord, here we have another one of those Brazilian prospects who looks awful on tape and then makes it to the big show and just shines. Is a completely different animal once they make it to the big stage. And then she gets into the UFC, and she has back-to-back fights that were extremely close, extremely competitive, and they took every opportunity they could to rob this poor girl of success. Back-to-back split decision losses to start her UFC career. Talita Alencar was the first person who she lost to, and As you guys know, I have absolutely zero love for Talita Alencar. That was a close fight. I thought it should have gone to Raonic. And then Puja Tomar. We know the UFC tried to make something out of Puja. That fight was close. A lot of people thought that it should have gone to Dos Santos. I think everybody and their mom had money on Dos Santos that night. Naturally, the split decision goes to the fan favorite, I guess you'd say, from a brand new area of the world that the UFC wants to get to. They gave it to Puja Tomar. So the problem for me here with Rayanne is she's a big favorite again, man. She's a minus 275 favorite in this spot right now. And she just seems to be kind of like, it's funny. I shouted out Carlos Hernandez as a bit of a joke a minute ago because he got cut by the UFC. But she gives me Carlos Hernandez vibes. They're bringing people in who will fight closely with her, and then they'll rob her blind. Like she's the B-side on all of these fights somehow. And now she's fighting Elise Ardelean. This is the girl who's got, 3 million TikTok followers. This is the girl that started MMA way late just to like get in shape and then somehow developed an okay enough record to call herself a pro, and the UFC signed her because why the hell not? She's got really stiff striking, man. She's got a decent 1-2, but she's not good anywhere. She does come forward aggressively. She charges in. She bites down. She'll throw that big right hand. She seems like she's very physical and strong. Ardelean is going to be 1 inch taller here, but that's about it when it comes to the stats. Rayanne should be the more well-rounded fighter by a mile. She's only 29 years old, and she's got 22 professional fights at 29 years old. I mean, I don't ever want to be laying minus 270 on Rayanne Dos Santos. But if there was ever a fight that she was going to win and hopefully leave no question, like this has to be that fight, right?
I mean, possibly. It's really hard to get excited by Dos Santos at a betting line like that, mostly because she's just proven that she's not effective enough. And I mean, that's the reason why these fights have been split decisions. Like, yeah, you can argue that she shoulda, coulda, woulda deserved the win, but she's just not being effective enough to separate herself in the eyes of the judges. And I think that's kind of important to note. And over, 3 track fights, she's landing 4.3 strikes per minute, absorbing 5.2. You never want to see fighters have negative striking differentials. I do think she's a better submission grappler than Ardelean. Ardelean's like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu and has had some weaknesses on the ground, throughout a mixed regional career, where Dos Santos at least has like some, WMMA arm bars on her record. And she's actually been like a pretty willing wrestler in the UFC, Dos Santos. She's just not effective though. She's not even averaging half a takedown per 15 minutes. Her takedown accuracy is at 12%. So like the biggest advantage I would see from a projection standpoint is that Dos Santos is the better grappler, well-rounded, but in terms of being the grappler, she's just not an effective wrestler though. So if she cannot land takedowns, which she has not been able to do thus far in really, 45 minutes of cage time, this fight just has competitive striking affair written all over it. And yeah, Ardelean is not very good, but she at least went out there and landed 92 significant strikes against Melissa Martinez. Like, that's decent pacing. I think she's going to have trouble, with more evasive fighters. She's going to have trouble cutting off the cage, but she's at least willing to exchange, and she can at least throw strikes. And again, from a projection side of things, if you're going to look at significant strike counts over the course of 15 minutes, both these girls are probably going to land like 70, 80 significant strikes, and we're probably going to get very competitive rounds. Definitely not enough for me to get excited by Dos Santos at minus 275. And if anything, it's not if anything. I was going to say, if anything, I'd like the dog. Truthfully, I don't like Ardelean at all. But I think the most likely outcome of the matchup is that it's probably a competitive striking affair. And I would still lean toward Dos Santos, and I would especially lean toward Dos Santos, given that she has at least grappling upside. She's at least if Ardelean happens to land a takedown, for example, I don't really think she's going to do anything with it. If Dos Santos is landing takedowns, if you tell me Dos Santos lands 2 takedowns, maybe she can control position. Maybe she can threaten for a submission. That's kind of where I see her upside, at least from a win equity standpoint. But until she can prove that she's an effective wrestler, I kind of just have to assume the fight's going to take place on the feet for the majority of time, in which case it's very likely to be semi-competitive, and that's going to put me off any real betting interest.
I hear you, man. I absolutely hear you. That makes a ton of sense to me. And this is probably a real easy pass to start the night. The one thing I'll say is after back-to-back close fights and fighting someone who is a massive step down, I don't think Elise belongs in the UFC. I could see this being the spot where Dos Santos absolutely destroys her. Like whether it's just having more pop in her hands, body shots, maybe a knee to the belly, something like that drops her, or even if she just schools her jiu-jitsu wise on the mat. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Dos Santos just massacres this girl in the cage and finally shows like, hey, I'm here, I'm legit. Those last couple fights, I'm young, not sure what that was about. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised. So as much as it makes me like a little sick to my stomach to say, throw up in my mouth a little bit, it's favorite or pass for me. Probably a leave it alone, but favorite or pass for me. Shout out Groundskeeper with the dono. Thank you very much for the donation, my friend, saying if you read any of my messages out loud, I am happy. Definitely, if I catch one that we like, we will be sure to loop you in here, Groundskeeper. Just saying, remember, this is the apex with no room to run around, which is all Santos does to avoid, I think is what you were trying to say there on that one, Groundskeeper. Don't worry, my man. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate you with the dono shouting out like that. I try to mix everybody in. I apologize I can't get quite to everybody on every single thing, which actually, Brett, there's a new little button here. Check this out. Apparently, I am able to add comments to the stage. Everyone just get in the comment section and let's test this. I just hit the button. I turned it on. So don't be rude, but get in the comment section for me. I can see Louis Mack Jr. right there in the bottom right corner. There we go. We got Groundskeeper. And you can see that.
That's cool.
Right. All right. We got some new functionality here on StreamYard. Shout out StreamYard. That's what's up. Now, unfortunately, you guys are going to probably go ahead and cover my guest's face. So I don't think I'm going to leave this on at all times. And I like picking and choosing because, as you know, MMA fans not always the kindest when it comes to the comment section. So maybe I'll keep control of that. But for live streams, Friday shows, maybe we can introduce that as a thing that we do. All right, next fight up, you guys. We're moving right along here. Marquel Medeiros, and he takes on Bolaji, which is a very difficult name for me to roll off the tongue here. Medeiros 10-1, 28 years old. He's training out of Factory X Muay Thai, which interesting because of the fallout at that gym. I actually need to double check and see if he is one of the people that remained because a lot of them left. So that may be old news with him being at Factory X. He is on a 2-0 UFC run. He won his last fight via split decision over Austin Hubbard. I like this guy's striking, really clean, lots of feints. Hard chopping, low calf kicks. He uses all of his weapons really well, nasty knees and elbows whenever he gets in close. And he mixes stuff up so well, you never really know where he's coming from. He does a lot with body work. He's very strong. He's got a good get-up game. I like him. He keeps a very high pace as well. And when you're going with a guy like Hubbard, who's shooting 9 takedowns on you over the course of a 15-minute fight and still able to land a decent amount of volume, like that's the kind of pace I like to see. I like this kid. Bolaji Aoki, 9-2, 29 years old. He's 1-1 so far off Dana White's Contender Series. He beat Timmy Kwamba by split. Now, that in itself is a bit concerning. I know. That fight wasn't really a split. We got one of those rogue judges that came out of left field and was like, go Timmy! There's no reason whatsoever that fight should have been a split decision after going back and rewatching it. However, if the fight was even close enough for them to call it a split, that is a little bit concerning, especially from what we've seen from Timmy. Now, I know he did look better in his last fight. He finally got his first win, but I'm still not 1,000% sold. So just question marks there, question marks. His next fight, though, he immediately got cracked and subbed by Chris Duncan. Now, Chris Duncan, he's a tough guy to nail down. Sometimes he looks like $1 million, and then other times he looks like he's half dead, and then he finds a finish. And this fight was really weird. You had Oki shooting takedowns, got in deep on a takedown, ended up in a choke, and just got put to sleep in that spot after having a rough couple of minutes in the first round where it looked like he was starting to maybe take over a little bit. Duncan was starting to be on the back foot, but then he found his way to a sub. Like, really weird run here for Oki. He's got a nice jab. He's very heavy on his feet. He covers and rolls well with punches. He's got a big right hand. This guy can dead just about anybody. in the first round. He's got crazy power, and that's something that can always bail him out. But I am yet to be sold on what he looks like over a 15-minute fight, and I'm not sure what his level is, especially considering he's fighting close with Timmy and making dumb mistakes like that and getting tapped out by a guy like Duncan. So I don't know what to make of Oki. He will have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and he is currently the minus 170 favorite. You can get about plus 140 to come back on Marquel Medeiros. And I mean, I kind of feel like the UFC is doing what they can to get Oki, going here, get him a win. Because if I want to critique the Timmy Kwamba split, you got to also critique the Austin Hubbard split, right? Going 2 of 9 on takedowns, not so bad, but he got 7 minutes and 34 seconds of control time. I could see Oki going to the grappling here, Brett. I really could see a world where Oki is too big, too strong, and just kind of sits on top of him. And we call it a day. He grinds out a decision and needs to get back on track, gets a win, gets his hand raised. I'm going to pick Oki. I don't like it, though.
Yeah, it's another fight that I don't feel great about, mostly because I don't feel certain in like who Oki is as a fighter just yet. I still consider him pretty green, and obviously he has like really good physical attributes. I tend not to be on those types of fighters as much as the public is, though. Like, he's got a ton of power. He's shown some wrestling, but diving headfirst into a guillotine choke kind of, diminishes some of that excitement. And like, I don't know, is he a better grappler than Medeiros? I'm not totally sure. Medeiros is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Kind of when I was looking through this fight, the conclusion I came to was that I think they'll probably neutralize each other on the ground to an extent. Like, I think Oki can take Medeiros down. I'm not even certain it's going to be a major part of his game plan, though. So it's kind of hard to project. And, Medeiros at least showed some functionality defending a rear naked choke against Austin Hubbard. And like, I don't view Oki as some high level submission grappler. So yeah, I think Oki has some wrestling equity, but it's hard for me to go out there and say like he's surely going to have success on the ground. He's going to be able to win rounds. He's going to be able to earn control, etc. I don't think Oki's particularly strong as a defensive grappler either. I think he's physically strong. And Medeiros, although he's attempted a handful of takedowns in the UFC thus far, he hasn't been effective either. Hasn't landed a takedown yet. I think he's 0 for 6. And he's 0 for 6 on takedowns against, Landon Quinones and Austin Hubbard. So again, I'm probably not projecting Medeiros to have much wrestling success. I wonder if this is gonna be that entertaining of a fight. Mostly because these fighters are both pretty maybe defensively sound isn't the right word in terms of their striking, but they're both defending strikes at a high rate, especially Medeiros. Medeiros is probably going to try and be evasive here. He's probably going to try and dance around. He's probably going to try and attack the legs of Oki. Oki's probably going to be coming forward, probably going to be the one pressuring, probably going to want to be, throwing bigger power shots. And I don't know that Medeiros is going to want to meet him in the middle there. I see Medeiros kind of playing the role of a point striker more so, which is what he's done thus far in his UFC career. You mentioned his pacing is good. And I would argue that it's not that great. Like, I think he can compete in striking rounds. I think he's reasonably technical. I think he has reasonable power. I like that he attacks multiple levels, but ultimately he's gone the distance twice in the UFC against pretty mediocre competition, and he's landed 60 and 44 significant strikes. So that's just not too strong of a pacing metric from my point of view. And Medeiros is also defensively sound. Again, 62% striking defense. I don't think Oki's just going to be able to land on him at will. Medeiros is shown to be pretty durable too. So I lean toward Oki just being like a more physical, more powerful fighter, probably the one to pursue takedowns. But I do kind of wonder if this is going to be a slower paced fight, a more cautious fight, with Medeiros trying to be evasive and potentially just another tight decision.
Yeah, I'm worried this one's going to be a little bit boring, unfortunately. Don't you worry, guys. With these low-level fight cards, there's always opportunities for finishes. Sometimes these people crash in and they get stuff done in a way that we would never see coming. Hopefully that happens on this fight, because we definitely need less boring on a fight night like this one. Both of us leaning towards the favorite ever so slightly here. All right, guys, we have got 430 of you watching live. Make sure you're checking out my guy, Brett Apley, one of the best DFS guys in the game. So be sure to show him some love. Give him a follow if you haven't already, and hit that like button for me as well. Next up, we've got Andreas Gustafsson, and he's taking on Trevin Giles. Now, this is a short notice fill-in. I believe we were supposed to have Austin Wells in this spot. And I got to tell you, Brett, Trevin Giles needs to be thanking Wells for pulling out, because I think he probably saved a few brain cells there. Now, not to say he's, a lock to win this fight or anything like that, but going from a guy like Wells to a guy like Andreas, I think is a huge break in competition for him, potentially. Gustafsson is 34 years old, you guys. He is coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, and I think he's a bum. Like, he's coming from the exact same episode where we got Torres Finney and Kentavious Cortavious Romius, man, rattling all those names off. That was difficult for me. But not to say that just because he was on the same episode as those guys, he's bad. But he's a bully. Like, he's old. He's too old to be a prospect. At 34 years old, like, unless he went on a Kevin Holland type of 5 fights in 1 year type of run, this guy's not sniffing the contender circle ever. He's big. He's physical. He tries to charge you up to the cage. He wants to just physically like maul you and bully you up against the fence. He's very good from like the clinch. He gets that Muay Thai plum where he like hangs on the back of your neck and makes you carry all that weight. And then he looks to beat you up with knees and stuff like that when he's in close. But his record, now I know you can't just like wiki cap these guys and be like, oh, like it's not always the same thing. But he's got 2 losses on his record. The guys he lost to, 37-10, 4-3, and then everybody else that he's fought, his only good win was the guy he beat on Contender Series, record-wise anyway. He was 9-1 at the time, but he was Canadian. We know, no offense, you guys know I love Canada, but the Canadians are struggling these days in the MMA streets. His other wins, 13-10, 8-4, 8-3, 6-4. Like, he's beating nobodies. Like, this guy is beating absolutely nobody, and he's getting all of these done primarily early on. He's got 1 decision win. All of his other fights are finishes, and they're early. So the 2 out of 3 times that he's gone to decision, he's ended up losing. And I'm just not seeing the skills, right? Like, when I watch this guy fight, he seems like a barroom brawler plus. Like, this is a guy who wrestled in high school and did a couple of kickboxing classes and now thinks he can fight in the UFC. I ain't buying. Trevin Giles, you guys know, I have a problem with, right? Like, I've always been on the other side of him. I've always wanted to fade him. And then I made the mistake of betting on him once or twice, and he cost me money. Instead of just sticking with always fade Officer Giles, I ended up betting on him a couple of times in spots that I shouldn't have. He's 32 years old somehow. Like, I feel like he should be way older than that, but apparently he's still only 32. He's 1-3 in his last 4, and his last win was a split decision over Preston Parsons. Trevin Giles, Brett, seems to be less than the sum of his parts. He's one of these guys he's got all of it. He can wrestle. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Defensively grappling, he is solid. He's a decent boxer. He's got a really clean jab. The durability seems to be a little bit of a problem. But you see the guys that are knocking him out. I mean, look at the run he's been on. Carlos Prates, Gabriel Bonfim, Michael Morales, Dricus Duplessis. Like, these are the guys that are beating him. The UFC is using Trevin Giles as a feeder, and every time he gets somebody who doesn't belong on the level, he really seems to expose them. Like Luis Cosi. I thought the Cosi brothers were actually going to be a little bit of a gimmick. I thought they were going to be something. And he decisioned the crap out of Cosi, and it wasn't particularly close. This man has a win over Roman Dolidze, shockingly enough. Like, somehow he was able to finesse his way around Roman Dolidze back in the day. He's got a win over James Krause. So, like, if you give him one of these mid-tier / a little bit older guys, Trevin Giles is the better man. He just can't hang with the young, the fast, the contenders, the explosive. I think this line is backwards, Brett. They're going to make me do it again. And this is a gift. Like, right now, Andreas Gustafsson is minus 165 against Trevin Giles, who is plus 135, plus 140 in some places. And that makes 0 sense. That'll be my Link Memorial Dog of the Week, you guys. I absolutely hate it. I can't bear to lose money once again on Officer Giles. but this line is backwards. This guy is off Dana White's Contender Series. Dana White's Contender Series fade in full effect. He doesn't belong in the UFC, and Trevin Giles is going to show us that. Trevin Giles will get that much-needed win, rebook the Wells fight, and then Wells can put him out cold in the first round. But we're going to go ahead and take the plus money this time.
Fair enough. I mean, I agree with you and I disagree with you on certain things. Like, I totally agree in that Gustafsson, to me, doesn't profile as like a real prospect. He's too old. He's too one-dimensional in what he does. He's like a clinch warrior. Like, if he's fighting at distance, I don't particularly trust him. I mean, he uses a ton of energy. He's very physical. There's always cardio questions that come into play. So, I like, this is not the type of fighter who I ever like really am passionate about or like want to necessarily invest in or think is going to go far in the UFC. I kind of like him though. I do kind of like him. And it's primarily because like he knows what he wants to do. Like, he's not a clinch warrior who's going to screw around and like leg kick at distance and like pull guard. Like, he is going to aggressively attack the clinch, bully his way there for as long as he possibly can, try and take you down. He's going to land brutal strikes in the clinch. He's going to land a lot of ground and pound. It's not the best profile, but at least he knows what he wants to do, and he's physical enough to be successful with that type of game plan against a certain level of opposition. And I think there's a pretty good chance that Trevin Giles is in that range of opposition where Gustafsson can have success, mostly because Giles is just way too complacent. I agree that, you know, Giles has been fighting good competition and losing. You don't fully hold that against him, but Giles is just kind of a weasel. Like, he doesn't really do anything. I don't really know even what Giles like wants to do. Is Giles just want a boxing match here? Probably.
I feel like he tries to take what you give him. He's just not good at it.
which is respectable in some ways, and it's like allowed him to win fights. Like, it's being, you know, taking what you give him is like what allowed him to beat Roman Dolidze and what allowed him to beat Preston Parsons. But at the end of the day, like, you know, he's landing 27 strikes over 15 minutes and a takedown. He's even against Louis Cosi, he's landing 25 strikes and 2 takedowns. Against Preston Parsons, 55 strikes. So just from an offensive production standpoint, he just really doesn't do a whole lot. I think his durability is in question. Like, his defense isn't terrible, but Preston Parsons, who he beat, had him in pretty bad positions on the ground. And like, even Louis Cosi took him down and was on top of him late in the fight. And to me, like, watching those exchanges, like, Giles is just too complacent. He's not urgent in what he does. He just doesn't produce a whole lot of offense. He's just not aggressive enough defensively. Rather than it being like a pure technical issue, it's just not aggressive enough defensively. So when I picture him against a fighter who knows what he wants to do and who is aggressive, like, is Giles going to be able to create space here? Because Gustafsson's just going to clinch with him, throw knees, throw elbows, try and take him down. And like, yeah, Giles might be able to survive those exchanges. I'm not certain he does, to be honest. He might be able to survive those exchanges, but then like, what is he doing in return? Is he like then out wrestling Gustafsson? That seems like a really difficult challenge. Is he just going to outbox Gustafsson? Possibly. If this is a boxing fight, I do think Giles wins. I think Giles is a better boxer. I don't love Gustafsson at distance. I'm just skeptical that Gustafsson is going to like allow a boxing fight. And so I really would need Giles to be less complacent, to attack in the spaces where he needs to have success in order to win rounds. And I'm just really skeptical that he does that. So I kind of like Gustafsson here. This is one of those fights and one of those fighters where I would never like recommend betting on, because it's just, there's kind of a lot of guesses to be made, I think, as to how Gustafsson's going to compete at this level. And there's just red flags. There's red flags on both sides. So it does feel more like a gamble than anything predictive. But at this point, I just kind of like I feel more trusting in the style of fight that Gustafsson is going to bring than anything that Giles is going to offer. And like it totally could just blow up in my face. If it does, I think it's probably Giles surviving for a couple rounds, weaseling his way to a third round win, or Gustafsson gets a little bit tired and it's a competitive fight. But I also think there's a chance that Gustafsson just kind of clinch mauls him, takes him down, beats him up on top, and Giles is just not energetic enough in producing offense. So I like Gustafsson a little bit more than I probably should, but I'm open to being wrong about it.
Okay. And hey, I've got the same approach on the other side here on this one, right? Like, how often does trusting Trevin Giles really work out for you? So God bless anybody that's going down with me and going down with the ship here. Groundskeeper in the chat saying neck injury, which side, groundskeeper, who are we talking about with the neck injury? Because I'm not aware of a neck injury on either side here. So let me know. The It Factor MMA with one of my all-time favorite comments here. This is a prime example of people overestimating a fighter with cool tattoos. And Dixon Sider following that up with low-key gives me Robert Valentin type vibes. And I agree wholeheartedly with both those statements. Man, I feel like this guy he really seems to me like a D- version of Roman Dolidze. And I not B-, not C-, D-. Like he's the same archetype. He's just nowhere near as good. So I think that Trevin Giles can have wrestling success. I think he can have cardio success. And I think he's just straight out levels above. So like you said, on the feet boxing, he's going to be a million miles the favorite there. It's going to come down to the power. If his chin is just gone and he gets cracked, you got me. You know what I mean? Like we know that he's fragile at this point. So I can't say that he won't get knocked out. But if he can stay behind the jab, if he can keep the range, if he can win a couple scrambles, get top position when they hit the mat a couple of times, I think it's his fight to lose. So we'll find out.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say real quick is that I think Gustafsson's game like really hinges on his physicality. Like his physicality is what will enable him to have success. So as long as he can physically overpower opponents, physically match up with opponents, bully them around, I think he can do okay. But as soon as that physicality, as soon as he's not able to dominate his opponents with physicality, that's just where I see his game kind of breaking down completely.
Okay, fair enough. And the boys in the chat are saying Gus is the one with the neck injury. So that's good news for me. I'm very happy to hear that then. So yeah, let's freaking go. And for anybody keeping track at home, I'm currently on a heater, Brett. Okay, Ethan Hershey is my boy in the chat, and he regularly challenges me to shop bets. And we're going on this one. So Ethan wants some Gustafsson. I've got Trevin Giles, and he's trying to get it back, which he's chasing his losses here, Brett. And that's never a good strategy gambling. But he wants 3. He wants 3 shots on this fight, which feels a little unfair considering I'm picking the underdog. But as Sean Knuckles says, always trust your balls. No, we're not anchoring him, Sean. Sean, chill. Calm down. We are not anchoring Trevin Giles. But I will take him for the shot bet against my boy, Ethan Hershey. All right, guys, let's move it along. Next fight up, Jordan Leavitt, the Monkey King, finally returns, and he takes on Kurt Holobaugh. And this is a fun fight for me, Brett. I like this fight a lot. So I feel like Leavitt is consistently underrated. A lot of people are upset with the fact that he's a little effeminate. MMA and MMA Twitter especially, they seem real upset when anybody gives even close to what could be considered gay vibes. So nobody likes Leavitt. And it's really funny when he wins fights to watch everybody absolutely melt down over the fact that he's actually a pretty good fighter and all they can do is accuse him for twerking. Leavitt is the favorite in this spot, you guys. That number is growing also. He's closing in on -200 at this point over Kurt Holobaugh, which I'm a little surprised by. Leavitt is 29 years old, 3-3 in his last 6, so pretty mid-tier at this point in the UFC. But he's got, I was going to say decent losses, but it's like one of these things is not like the others. Like he lost to Chase Hooper, he lost to Paddy Pimblett, and he lost to Claudio Puelles. So I was going to say he's got good losses, and then I was like, well, the Claudio Puelles loss is not aging well, but the other two, not so bad. I do think that Jordan Leavitt is highly underrated. Really awkward striking. He's a very good grappler. He's another submission ace guy, and actually watching the Hooper fight, as long as it lasted, was a blast. Like they got into some serious scrambles, some awkward positions. They were both able to find a way out and then attack. He had a heel hook attempt that he was working on Chase Hooper. And Hooper went from heel hook defense to back take and then locked in a rear naked choke. I mean, just the scrambles on Chase Hooper. You guys know this is a Chase Hooper podcast. I was so impressed by that move. That's one of those ones where I could drill that thing for months in the gym and not be able to hit it. So for him to do it on a guy like Ľudovít, incredibly impressive. I don't take anything away from what Ľudovít was doing or the skill set of Ľudovít for him to get caught by that, because a lot of people would have got caught by that. He was winning a lot of those scrambles. He was getting in top position a lot during that fight. So like I mentioned, Ľudovít underrated and also understands in MMA, especially with the judging criteria, you want to be on top in this game. He will have a 1-inch reach advantage. Kurt Holobaugh, 21-9. He is 38 years old since his return to the UFC. He is 2-2. This is a big, strong, physical man who's a BJJ black belt with a very strong clinch game, big, powerful knees to the body. He likes to kind of bully people up against the fence and then just beat on you once he's got you there. Decent volume. He keeps his hands a little too low for me. Not that I think Ľudovít's going to be the guy that, punishes him or tests his chin or anything like that, but you never know. Holobaugh does show decent cardio, but he's got a 39% takedown defense rating, and that's what kind of concerns me here. I'm going to break down his last couple of fights. 4 out of 5 takedowns from Alexander Hernandez. 3 out of 3 takedowns from Krzyzewski. 3 out of 4 takedowns for Trey Ogden. And then Hubbard went 2 out of 6. Now, Hubbard is barely clinging to life as far as being a UFC caliber fighter at this point. But these guys are hitting any takedown they want on this guy. Ľudovít's got 25% takedown accuracy, which is about 6 points lower accuracy-wise than the guys on that list that I just rattled off. So it's going to be interesting, because if Ľudovít is just a little bit worse of a wrestler, does he hit those takedowns? I'm not sure, but I do think the grappling edge for Ľudovít is something that could be exploited here. Now, Kurt being the bigger, stronger, more physical guy, looking to do more damage, I could see that winning the day here on some of these judges' scorecards, man. I'm going to pick Jordan Ľudovít, but at -2x or higher, I can't get involved at that number. Like, I want the little guy to win the grappling scrambles here against the bigger, stronger man. Like, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense at that number, man. I would prefer this to be a pick'em price tag. I would prefer to have Ľudovít at -130. You know what I mean? Something like that. I don't think I want him at -200. So I will pick Ľudovít to go ahead and get it done, but I don't like it as a bet.
Yeah, I don't think this fight's going to be too competitive, however way it goes. So I think the favorite or the winner may look kind of obvious in hindsight. I am more on the underdog here in Holobaugh. I got on him closer to opener. And just between you and me, Clint, don't share this with anyone else, but I think
it's just us, no sweat.
I think I've picked Holobaugh to win every single one of his UFC fights.
So you're 2-2.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I really like Holobaugh's game. Historically, I've really liked Holobaugh's game. He's one of those guys who fights for your money. He throws at a high pace. He's powerful. I mean, he's a competent grappler, but I think in recent years, what has obviously stuck out is that his first level takedown defense is just not that strong. And like, especially against Trey Ogden, that was like probably the most eye-opening loss that he's had, where he just got taken down pretty easily in every round and gave up 12, 11 minutes of control. He was just held down for the entire fight. And like, Trey Ogden's decent, but you probably shouldn't be getting taken down and held down for the entire fight by Trey Ogden. And you mentioned the other stats. Like, yeah, everyone's taking him down. So like, at this point, I'm forced to acknowledge that's an issue for Holobaugh. And on the flip side, that's how Ľudovít's going to win. I mean, Ľudovít's a better wrestler and grappler. I think Ľudovít's path is taking Holobaugh down, holding him down, potentially submitting him. I have a couple issues with Ľudovít, though, and one of them being that kind of the way that I see him beating Holobaugh is not really the way that, like, he's won a fight yet. Like, he has a couple of like fluke-ish knockouts, and he has a couple of early submissions. I mean, yeah, if he gets an inverted triangle or some leg lock, so be it. Otherwise, he has like a striking-based decision over Trey Ogden, which looks impressive, especially when you contextualize it against Ogden beating Holobaugh. But when you watch the fight, I mean, 52 of Ľudovít's 69 significant strikes landed were leg kicks. And they're not even like effective leg kicks. They're just like front kicks and, point strikes. And like, yes, he can technically compete with Holobaugh if he's able to evade and front kick Holobaugh for 15 minutes, but I just really doubt that Holobaugh is going to allow that. I think Holobaugh is going to pressure him, try and back him up against the cage, get him moving backward where kicking is more difficult. And in that kind of fight, if Holobaugh gets that kind of fight, I think he demolishes Ľudovít. I think he's just a far better striker. Optics are going to be in his favor. He's far more damaging. I could easily see him hurting Ľudovít. So I think Ľudovít's going to be wrestling, right? And it's, can he take Holobaugh down and hold him down or submit him for an extended period of time? Like, he definitely can, but I don't really view Ľudovít as this control specimen. Like, I don't think he's that. I just don't think he's that strong of a control grappler, and I don't think he's that strong of a submission grappler either. Like, he's definitely a good submission grappler, but when you lose 2 fights in a row by submission, granted to good competition, it's like he's got Michael Chiesa syndrome. Like, people always overrated Michael Chiesa because he's some ace grappler who just gets submitted in like 75% of his losses. So that
never learned how to defend that Darce choke.
No, he did not. And I'm very cautious with when I'm backing grapplers who get submitted, because it's like submission grappling is a pretty low variance sport, and you kind of either understand like defense or you don't. And I don't know that Ľudovít's up to the standard that I would like for him. I still definitely think he can win this fight. I definitely think he can take Holobaugh down early. That's probably the most likely outcome. Can he take him down all 3 rounds and hold him down for 3-4 minutes in every single round? That I'm much less sure about. And especially because I think striking optics will favor Holobaugh. It kind of makes me want to lean toward the dog. And also, Jordan Ľudovít has worse takedown defense than Kurt Holobaugh. Like, Kurt Holobaugh is defending takedowns at 39%. Jordan Ľudovít's defending takedowns at 30%. Again, I don't necessarily want my grapplers who I'm betting at chalk to have a 30% takedown defense. I don't think Holobaugh is going to come out with a wrestling-based game plan, but he probably could take Ľudovít down if he wants. So, yeah, ultimately, like, Ľudovít's the type of fighter who I'd be playing on DraftKings for. If he wins, it's grappling domination, most likely. I don't really see the reason to get behind him at minus 170 or wherever he's at right now. And you don't have to be on Holobaugh either, because there's a clear path for him to lose rounds via giving up takedowns. But of the two, I don't mind taking it. I'm a Holobaugh homer, but I don't mind taking a chance on the underdog here. I like Holobaugh's game enough.
Fair enough. And I will just say, my whole thing with Ľudovít is, I understand he's got worse takedown defense than Holobaugh. I think he will win via reversals. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's going to be too slippery on bottom, whereas Holobaugh likes to throw up triangles, and he likes to throw up arm bars. Ľudovít will go for a heel hook, reverse roll, and then find his way on top. That's what he was doing with Hooper. And I just think he'll be one step ahead in those scrambles, that even if he does end up getting taken down, it might actually benefit him, because I could see him. Okay. He's got really good butterfly hooks. I think that's an underrated skill in MMA these days. You know, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu guys off their back don't do a whole lot with it, but he creates space with those things, and he works with that space. So I think that Holobaugh is going to have an advantage on the feet. But if it goes to the ground, whether he's in dominant position or not, I think Ľudovít will end up in dominant position on the ground. So again, I'm not laying minus 200 for that, right? Like, that's a suspect that maybe Holobaugh shoots, gets on top, and ends up on his back. That's not a minus 200 game plan, baby. I'm not betting on that. So I think leave it via split decision, so that all of the alpha males on Twitter, all the self-proclaimed males on Twitter, get very, very upset.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, guys, let's keep it going. Next fight, Allan Nascimento takes on Jafel Filho, which, my lord, okay, so we have got just some submission ace grappling going on here. I love this fight. Now, Allan Nascimento, he's been gone for a really long time, a long layoff, and he's huge, you guys. This is a man who you've always got to circle for the Friday Undefeated post-weigh-in show. We might be breaking out the tinfoil cap and talking about how badly he missed weight, because he's massive for this weight class. 33 years old, hasn't fought since 2023. He's a shoot-the-box prospect. I have no idea what to expect from him at this point after a 2-year layoff, but generally speaking, he's a size bully. He's a very strong grappler. He can wet blanket people, just gets on top of them and lays on them, holds them down. He's more physically stronger. He's not a bad striker, but when you're going to split decisions with Tagir and William Paiva, like, it brings into question just how, really effective you are, even though you can throw volume up there. He does like his elbows once he gets into clinch and he gets in close. He's capable of backpacking you. He body triangled and standing submitted Carlos Hernandez. And like I said, shout out Hernandez. We're going to bring him up from now until forever, apparently, because he got that. He will have a 1-inch height and reach advantage. We were just talking about suspect takedown defense ratings, Brett. 16%. Nascimento has a 16% takedown defense rating. This man has never faced a takedown that he didn't choose to accept. He has no problems going to the ground. Crazy good submission defense. I remember the fight that he was in with Tagir, where he was in a fully mounted guillotine and somehow did not tap to that and got his way out. This guy's never been finished. So he's so big, he's so tough, he's so durable, he's good enough with his submission defense. Decision's really the only way that you can outwork this guy. Now, Jafel Filho, 21-9, 32 years old. He's a Nova União BJJ black belt, 2-1 so far in the UFC, and that only loss is that fight to Muhammad Mokaev, where any other fighter on planet Earth, their leg breaks in half and they lose all the tendons in their knees. Somehow, Mokaev, the freak that he is, was flexible enough to hang through that thing and was able to come back and finish that fight with just seconds left on the clock after Filho put everything he had into that final Hail Mary sub to go ahead and get the win. This guy made Ode and Barres look like amateurs on the ground. He took them to school when he had the opportunity to, and he's got that dog in him, Brett. If he gets hurt, it's not over. This guy bites down on the mouthpiece and says, okay, it's go time, as soon as he finds out that he's on the back foot. So there's a lot of reasons to like Jafel Filho, because he's very skilled, he's very well-rounded, and he's tough as nails. He will not quit on himself. He bites down on his mouthpiece and he throws. He will look for that win for you. Crazy type of fight here where, did these guys engage in the grappling? Does one of them think they have an edge? Do we end up with a really shitty striking match because both these guys are so good and so dangerous on the mat? I know Nascimento's never been subbed, but if there was somebody that was going to do it, it'd be a guy like Jafel Filho. On the feet, I think Filho is probably going to have a decent advantage here in this spot. So I kind of lean dog or pass in this spot just based on the unknown of where has been all this time. He's a minus 155 favorite. Jafel Filho plus 130, the underdog. Man, I kind of like the dog. I like the dog in Jafel Filho. I like the fact that I perceive him to have a striking advantage. I don't like the layoff of Nascimento. I like that Filho is the younger guy. Everything just kind of points towards the betting side of this being the underdog with all the question marks on Nascimento. What do you like here, man? What can you tell me about this fight?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight. I think it's kind of a mirror match. They're both really strong submission grapplers. They're both competent wrestlers. I think they're probably better strikers than they would appear on paper. I'm not shocked that you think Filo's a better striker. You're not the first person I've heard say that Filho may have a striking advantage. I guess I don't necessarily see it that way. I do think Filho is pretty decent technically, on a strike per strike basis. But what does 15 minutes of kickboxing look like for Filho? How many strikes is he really landing at distance? I've never really seen him fight at a high pace at distance, where at the very least, it was what, 7 years ago. Nascimento landed 105 significant strikes against Holly and Paiva. He outlanded Paiva at distance, 84-70. That to me is a far more impressive striking performance than anything Filho has ever done. And that doesn't mean that Filho can't have success, but I think Nascimento is probably more willing to throw down. And of the two, I've seen Filho hurt more often than I've seen Nascimento hurt. Nascimento throws pretty good body kicks. Filho's kind of hurt to the body. You asked about whether they'll grapple, and I think ultimately the answer is yes. Because the issue with projecting the fight is like, oh, if Nascimento's like losing striking exchanges, like what's going to happen? He's going to look to grapple. And conversely, if Filho's losing striking exchanges, he's not just going to accept a kickboxing match. He's going to grapple. And neither of these guys have great takedown defense, and they're both very competent submission grapplers. So we could see a sprawl and brawl situation, but my guess is both fighters are going to be willing to engage. And yeah, I mean, I think like Nascimento is capable of defending takedowns, the 16%. It's contextualized by mostly just fighting Tagir Bekov, but Filho can probably take him down. And conversely, I think Nascimento can probably take Filho down. And even if one fighter takes down the other, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to look, because normally you would clearly favor the top fighter, but like Nascimento's not just going to accept guard, and I don't know that Filho is necessarily going to accept guard. Maybe he will. They're probably going to threaten with their little arm bars, triangles. They're going to look for leg locks. The top player is going to advance position. It's going to allow for scrambles, and I think they probably neutralize each other. So, like, I think this is just a difficult fight to predict, because I don't see either one as being a dominant submission grappler over the other. Of the two, Filho's the one who's been submitted and been hurt on the feet. And I kind of, if I have to pick a winner, I guess I lean toward Nascimento, who I think maybe has a little bit more finishing upside, and I think he's a little bit higher paced on the feet, but I don't see him easily beating Filho in grappling exchanges. And I could just as easily see Filho reversing his way, scrambling his way into some success on the mat as well, threatening with submissions even. So I just think it's a difficult fight to predict, because they're both very good in as grapplers, where their opponents are strongest. And so I think we're just going to get a competitive fight. I don't mind leaning toward the underdog for that reason, but I also don't, like, ultimately, if I'm really putting any money on Nascimento, it's going to be against an opponent where he has a clear grappling advantage. And if I'm putting significant money on Filho, it's going to be where I think he has a clear grappling advantage. And I see them neutralizing each other and being very comfortable in any position. So I find it difficult to really cap it.
That's fair. The one thing I will point out real quick for any of you that do like the Allan Nascimento side of things, Filho has a little bit of a sketchy gas tank. I mean, the Mokaev fight is one where all that grappling pace and all that pressure, like, it wore him down. He was exhausted at the end of it. He ended up giving up a bad transition and a choke. And as much as I've talked about how Nascimento is a bit of a size bully, he's got a couple of round 3 finishes, not just one. He's got a couple of round 2s. He's got a couple of round 3s. Like, this is a guy who knows how to size bully his way through a fight, and he is capable late in the fight. So one of them has been submitted in round 3, and the other one has subs in round 3. So, like, if you want to look at it from that angle, a late finish from Nascimento is something that could definitely be on the table here as well, assuming he's healthy. And I think, Brett, that's kind of my biggest thing with this fight, is that the 2-year layoff from a prospect level fighter who is very rapidly losing his prime years, I just don't know what I'm getting from Nascimento. If he had fought 6 months ago and got another round 2 submission win or something, I'm probably all in on the Nascimento side here. You know what I mean? Like, it's that perceptive of, we're talking about kicky punchy, and one of these guys may not be 100%. Do I want to lay chalk there? I'm not so sure I do.
Yeah, and if Nascimento had gotten a submission pretty recently, he might not be, where he's
probably not
minus
155.
So yeah. That's the other side of the coin. But yeah, I totally understand that, and it's impossible to know how fighters are going to come back off long layoffs. So I tend to ignore those things, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a real impact on the fight. It's just sort of impossible to know, and I can understand why you would want to shy away in that sense.
Yeah, and then there's betting on Merab with a broken toe, where it just doesn't fucking matter, and he goes out there and he Merabs anyway. Like, there's some guys that, you're like, man,
he doesn't need any toes.
Injury, and Exactly, right? Like he would do the same thing on stumps. Like there's some fighters that it just doesn't matter. And then there's other guys where like you find out after the fact, oh, he broke his rib 2 weeks ago. Well, that would have been great to know. I probably wouldn't have bet on him if I had known that. So yeah, this one, it's question marks, but it's a great fight. I want to see this fight. I love this fight. I hope both guys are active and healthy because I think they're both solid, fun prospects to watch. And I love me a good grappling match as a grappling-based guy myself. So hopefully we get some fun submissions out of this one. Next up, we've got Zach Reese taking on Duško Todorović in what is the largest fade versus fade fight of 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I have told you all since he made it to the UFC that Zach Reese is a chinny, fraudulent bum. The guy is a size bully. He is big. He's extremely uncomfortable on the feet. He's got an okay kicking game, don't get me wrong, but as soon as you close the range on him, he's got one shot to touch your chin and knock you down, and if that doesn't work, he doesn't have any other solutions. And then he's a meme merchant. This guy is Paul Craig off of his back, like he's fishing for triangles and arm bars, and I told you guys it wasn't going to work at the UFC level, and it doesn't. Like, if you're a bad fighter, if you're a low-level fighter, if you're a debutante, if you're coming off Dana White's Contender Series, then maybe it'll work. But anybody else who's a solid, secured UFC guy, he ain't catching with that bullshit. So Zach Reese is a man who I have every interest in fading, and on top of that, he's making a very fast turnaround. He got iced by, Bekov in his last fight? Am I mixing up my my savages from that part of the world here? Okay, Azamat Bekov. Because there's Azamat Bekov, and then there's Bekov from the bantamweight kid that just knocked out what's his face on the Canada card. Anyway, so Azamat Bekov just absolutely ices this guy, and we're talking ground and pound. It was nasty. It was mean. His head is wobbling all over the place. He finally gets severed from his consciousness. The ref sees it, but he's in like this awkward, like hunched forward position. So the ref dives in to save him, Brett, and knocks him out again. Like, the ref knocks him over, diving in to separate the fighters, and his head just right off the canvas. I'm like, oh, that's an extra couple of brain cells that he didn't need to lose. And the ref's trying to do his job. May have made it worse. This was 3-4 months ago, you guys. You guys know I like a fighter to take 9 months off of a bad knockout loss, right? Like, if it's a TKO, if it's a stoppage where the ref steps in and waves it off, I mean, like, sure, you can circle on back around. But this guy got severed from his consciousness. They went to a commercial break before he stood back up, and the referee knocked him out a second time. He should not be in the cage 3-4 months after that took place, okay? Now, does he have the kind of power it takes to knock out a fellow bum in Duško Todorović? Yes, the answer to that is unequivocally yes. Duško Todorović is a guy that when he came to the UFC, I immediately said I want to fade. He's another less than the sum of his parts type of fighter. This is a guy who can wrestle. He can grapple decently well. He's very aggressive with his striking. The problem is he's missing his chin. He's been KO'd 4 times in the very first round. Sorry, I'm getting all worked up and excited, so I'm going too fast. My mouth can't keep up with my brain. But Duško likes to bite down on the mouthpiece and swing, and that's worked well enough on the regional scene for him. But he's another guy that's been taking on these almost contender-level prospects. Mansur Abdul Malik, one of the most vicious round 1 beatings you'll ever see. Chidi and Jaquani in round 1, that was a tough look. Punahele Soriano caught him. I mean, but somehow he went to a decision with Gregory Rodriguez. Nobody saw that coming. That was the random fluke out of nowhere where the chinny guy somehow goes the full distance. And then you've got like the Christian Leroy Duncan fight where it shows a round 1 KO. Guys, make sure you run the tape sometimes. He got his knee blown out in that fight. Like, that was a fluke knee injury. Now, don't get me wrong. He probably would have ended up getting knocked out at some point in that fight, but he didn't actually get knocked out in that fight. It was his knee that actually forced him to go down. So here he is fighting another round 1 or bust type of fighter, but I don't think this is a guy nearly on the level of Mansur. This is not a guy on the level of Chidi. This is not a guy on the level even maybe of Christian Leroy Duncan or Punahele Soriano. Like, I do not believe that Zach Reese is long for the UFC. He'll be a fun fighter as long as he keeps up a 1-win, 1-loss type of record, because why not? Everybody likes finishes on the undercard. But with the quick turnaround, and the fact that we have freakishly seen Duško sometimes go way longer in fights than he should, even when taking damage, I like the way he rips the body. I like the way, like Jordan Wright is one of his notable wins where he got the round 2 finish there. He weathered a storm in that first round. Jordan Wright is not a good fighter, but he's got incredible offense. The fact that Duško was able to take everything Jordan had to offer and then flip the tables and just pump the cardio on him in round 2, ripped him to the body, that was incredibly impressive. And I think that can be the type of thing that happens here. Reese, I believe, will fall apart the deeper this fight goes. And I will take any opportunity to fade him at plus money. I especially will take the opportunity to fade him at plus money when he's coming off a brutal knockout loss. And his chin, which I already think is bad, maybe even worse coming into this fight. So, guys, it's dog or pass. It's Duško for me. And as much as this is just that grimy, like, we're at the bottom of the barrel, there's like leftover like banana and stuff that I'm just like scraping off the bottom of this dumpster that I'm sitting knee deep in. I don't care. I like Duško Todorović this week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully blame you there. What's funny is I've been like fading Todorović for a while because of chin issues. Like I bet Punahele Soriano against him back in whatever that was, 2021.
Oh,
that's
me
like
too. That was fun.
Yeah, well, that's one of my favorite bets in recent memory, I suppose.
Puna was playable that night too. He wasn't even that bad of a price. It was like minus 160, minus 180, something like that.
Yeah, I can't fully remember, to be honest, but I don't even remember. Was he even the favorite there? I feel like Todorović might have been, but
I might have got that backwards.
That was many years ago. So
it's been a minute.
it has been a minute. And the point I was going to make was that I was kind of fading him. I kind of have been fading him for durability issues. And you mentioned it, when you contextualize the losses, like the knockout loss against Christian Leroy Duncan was a knee injury. And the knockout against Abdul Malik was more like he wasn't fully knocked unconscious. He was hurt, obviously. And then you compare it to Reese getting knocked out. It's like, at this point, I would say Reese has worse durability. Like, to me, there's two levels of predictiveness here. I think that Todorović has pretty poor defense, and that's going to continue to lead to him getting hurt. Reese just has bad durability. Like, when your brain shuts off, that is something that is predictive. Like, that means you've probably been taking a lot of damage in the gym. Like, if they have to physically drag you by the feet out of the octagon, that I do not like to see that in comparison to just someone getting hurt, having to turtle up, etc. So
no, he's like the guy on Monty Python where he's walking down the street with the card, "Bring out your dead!" Like
exactly. So I'm a little surprised to see him line this heavily because like I just don't. It's not that he can't take a punch, but when I see fighters get knocked out that badly multiple times, it just seems pretty likely that it's going to happen again and that it could take a few fights. But I'm definitely nervous about Reese's durability. I also think Todorović has poor defense, and I'll continue to fade him in the right matchups for that poor defense. And Reese could easily hurt him. But like Reese has other issues too. He likes to play off his back. I mean, defends takedowns small sample, but he's defending takedowns at 33%, striking defense 42%. I think his cardio and like ability to win minutes is a little bit better than I expected it to be coming into the UFC. And despite his opponent being Jose Medina, I thought Reese looked okay over 3 rounds against Medina. I liked his body kicks. And I think he's probably I would give Reese an edge over Todorović over 3 rounds because I just think he's a more physical fighter, and I like Reese's kicking game more than anything I like with Todorović, and most likely that's going to lead to Todorović taking damage and getting hurt. But I'm not sure I just buy that Reese is going to just charge him and knock Todorović out instantly. And if that doesn't happen, then it's just kind of anything's on the table. Like I could easily see Todorović hurting Reese at some point. Todorović is a very capable submission grappler. Reese being willing to play off his back means that Todorović could get top time. I just wish Todorović had like a better range game. He like his style, his length. I wish it played out more at distance than it does, but he needs the clinch more than distance. And it's just not the most effective style, especially when you leave your chin up in the air. So I think the most likely outcome is Reese hurting Todorović or kind of beating him up over an extended period, but I'm not exceptionally confident in that. I think there's a lot of variance in the matchup as they're going to exchange. Both guys can be hurt, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Todorović hurt Reese, or if there's grappling exchanges, Todorović can compete there too. Both guys can take the other down. It should be a fun fight. I'm not expecting this one to last too long. I know the under's kind of chalked up, but and I'm not really an unders.
Even have totals to talk about here on a Monday, but yeah, under 1.5 minus 190.
Yeah, I'm not really an unders guy. I don't really bet unders, but I would feel more confident in this fight ending in less than a couple rounds than I am necessarily picking a side. But I don't mind chasing the dog a little bit given the price tag.
Yeah, man, that's the only way I can look here on this one personally, because I can see this fight playing out a lot of different ways, believe it or not. I know it seems like it's pretty cut and dry, but I could see it playing out a lot of different ways. And Reese, for as much as we talk about, the big knockout power and the kicking game and all that, like I mentioned, he attacks those meme-ish subs and goes to his back at will. So if Duško, who is an underrated offensive wrestler, like we saw that even in like the Gregory Rodriguez fight, like he's going for takedowns on this mountain of a man, he'll shoot on a guy like Reese, and Reese won't resist. He'll go to his back. So like there's opportunity for top time here from Duško. And then also, we've talked about it before, you guys, you don't know what the mentality is of these guys coming off a bad KO loss. And this is by far the worst KO loss that Zach Reese has ever faced. He's been knocked out before, but not like this. What does he do here? Is he going to be the same life or death guy right out the gate after getting knocked out that badly? Sometimes they come out with self-preservation in mind for that next fight. And then also, let's not forget, this man got slam KO'd by Cody Brumdage. I mean, like, there's not many more things that you can say. I wanted to fade Bo Nickel because it took him until round 2 to finish Cody Brumdage. Like, he is the bar by which all things are measured in this weight class. And the fact that he got knocked out clean, cold, by a slam KO, no less, like, they just sus. Don't lay chalk on this guy. This is your PSA for the week. Do not lay chalk on Zachary Reese. Real quick, you guys got to shout out Spectation Sports. Promo code DIEHARD will get you 20% off when you sign up at Spectation Sports. They have amassed an absolute caliber, just library of fights. We've got BTC 29 coming up, Baroka 3, which again, brand new production. Baroka, they're on their 3rd event ever, coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you guys didn't sign up and watch Cage Titans, you missed out. You absolutely should have. I told you there were not 1, not 2, 3 Dana White's contender UFC caliber fighters that fought on that card. It was a phenomenal night of fights, tons of finishes. You guys need to check out Spectation Sports. Even if you're just looking to tape study some of these guys that are going to be in the UFC, Austin Bashi, Torres Finney, I believe Sean O'Malley's best buddy just got signed, another guy out of that same gym. I believe, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. He's probably going to end up on Dana White's Contender Series. So lots of talent coming out of these organizations, and it's an alternative to Fight Pass. It's all the other events out there that you guys won't catch, and they're being consolidated on a single solid platform. Get signed up. 20% off if you use my code. All right, let's keep it moving. As always, I'm joined by Brett Apley, who is one of the best DFS players in the game and a fantastic MMA analyst. If you guys don't know him, if you don't follow him, make sure you get out there on social media. His Twitter is in the description below. Make sure you give him a follow. And all 655 of you, jump over here on the YouTube stream, whether you're on X, whether you're on Twitch, get in the YouTube chat for me. Give me a follow. Hit the like button, and let's keep it rolling. Ketlen Vieira takes on Macy Chiasson in our next fight in what is a sneaky, like, high-level potential next kind of contender fight. I mean, both these women have been hanging around a little bit. Macy Chiasson seems to be the point in her career where she's finally putting it together and figuring it out. Ketlen Vieira fighting the who's who of the dominant fighters of this weight class. It's a bit sink or swim up here at the top end of the weight class. In Ketlen Vieira's last fight, she made us all question whether or not Kayla Harrison was legitimate. Like, the fight that she put on, she stretched Kayla to the absolute limit. She really worked her on the feet. She sold out to defend the takedowns and keep the fight standing. And she did, in fact, lose that fight, but it was not without those moments that kind of made you raise a bit of an eyebrow. At 33 years old, she's 2-2 in her last 4, and she's become a bit of a decision machine. But again, she's fighting some of the best. Holly Holm, Miesha Tate, Kayla Harrison, Rocky Pennington. I mean, she's really just fighting the absolute cream of the crop here. So for her to go 2-2 isn't a bad thing with that kind of run. So she's really trying to get herself consolidated in that title picture. Lots of footwork, lots of movement from the outside, chopping hard leg kicks. She's very good in the clinch. I like Ketlen Vieira, but I've also been burned by Ketlen Vieira because sometimes she'll lay an egg as a -200 favorite. Macy Chiasson, 10-3, 33 years old as well. And like I said, she's trying to kind of figure it out here at this stage of her life. She's a grinder. Very good submission grappling, very good submission defense. I mean, she's never been finished. She's another Jordan Leavitt type, man. She's completely underappreciated as far as the skill set that she's got. She's on a 2-fight win streak, and both of those wins come via finish, which has been just kind of impressive for her wrapping it up at this point in her career. The doctor stoppage over Mayra Bueno Silva, not the biggest finish we've ever seen, right? But the Pani Kinzad submission, there's not a thing you could take away from that. And if it wasn't for that damn godforsaken crazy upkick from Irene Aldana, this girl would be on a 4-fight win streak. I will never, ever forgive the MMA gods for robbing me that night. I was all in, man. I was balls deep on my bet, shouting from the mountaintops that Macy Chiasson was the side that night, and she was coasting. Aldana was exhausted. She was bloody. She was on her back, and then somehow liver kicked her from there. It's the most wild highlight you'll ever see in this stupid sport. But she's going to have a decent height and reach advantage, I believe, in this spot. And you guys, I just think I'm all in here on Macy Chiasson 2.0, quite frankly. I feel like Ketlen Vieira has lost a little bit of steam. I feel like she's lost a little bit of momentum. And I feel like Macy Chiasson has done nothing but gain that steam and momentum. This is going to be a test. This is going to be a battle. And we've seen Macy Chiasson weasel out these close competitive fights. It is a pick'em line, and I think for a reason. I don't think I'm going to get involved from a betting perspective because I can see this being just like that Norma Dumont split decision where it's close and the wrong fighter gets their hand raised. So I don't want to be in at all unless I'm getting plus money on that. So Macy Chiasson -115, the favorite. Ketlen Vieira -105, the ever so slight underdog. And I will be picking Macy Chiasson to win the fight. Somehow I've turned into a Macy Chiasson fan. I'm really not sure how or why that happened. She snubbed me. The one time I saw her at a live fight, I tried to get a picture with her and she ignored me for some chick that was yelling for a picture for her. So I don't know. So I still am somehow a fan of hers after that experience, but I'm going to root Macy Chiasson to go ahead and get this win, solidify herself in this division. You know what it is? It's because she trains with my girl, Sam Hughes. She's a teammate. You guys know, if you're a friend of my friend, you're a friend of mine. So the fact that I'm a Sam Hughes fanboy, I got to support the squad, right? So let's go Macy Chiasson. Brett, what are you doing here for this one?
Yeah, I respect it. It's a weird matchup. It's a weird matchup, because I definitely think Vieira is a more technical fighter than Chiasson, but she has issues. And so it's almost like it may not matter. You kind of have to throw the analysis out the window to a degree. Yeah. But I think my base concerns with Chiasson here are that she's not really an effective distance striker, and she's not that great of a wrestler either. Like, she is willing, which I think is almost more important, but she's not like a technically strong wrestler offensively or defensively. And I'm just not certain that she can take Vieira down. If she can, she's going to win the fight, right? Because she's going to earn with top position. She's going to be able to land ground and pound. Vieira doesn't really get off from her back too well. So if Chiasson can bank 2 or 3 takedowns here, she probably just wins the fight. But Vieira has pretty strong takedown defense, and you just mentioned that she gave Kayla Harrison a test. She didn't completely melt the Kayla Harrison. Like, I'm just not sold that Chiasson easily takes Vieira down. And if she cannot, then it's like, well, does she win? Do I want to be invested in her at that point? The problem is
cage push.
Yeah, I mean that could be a very real factor in the fight. Like Chiasson,
She goes
still
full
strong in
Mario
the clinch.
Bautista on her.
Yeah, she's on Andreas Gustafsson light. She at least knows what she wants to do. She's going to attack the clinch. She's going to size bully a little bit, and she's semi-effective as a clinch fighter. Ketlen Vieira, Clint, in her last 10 fights, how many times do you think Ketlen Vieira has landed more significant strikes than her opponent?
Ooh, in her last 10 fights?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3.
The answer is, I believe, 0.
I knew it was low, but that's brutal.
I don't think Ketlen Vieira's outlanded any of her last 10 opponents in significant strikes. Like, she's a fine striker, but that is an issue when you're consistently not outlanding your opponents. And I mean, it's baked into her metrics. 2.9 significant strikes per minute landed, 3.9 absorbed. Like, if this fight plays out at distance, I'm favoring Ketlen Vieira. But she has a proven track record of not being able to outland her opponents. And so it's like, I can only take that so far. And furthermore, you know, she might just give up the clinch. She might just give up the clinch and take down. So I can absolutely see Chiasson winning this fight with aggressive cage push, being the bigger girl, laying an occasional takedown, and that's it. At the same time, I think Ketlen Vieira could take Macy Chiasson down. Vieira's a competent judo player herself. If Chiasson wants the clinch, she may just accept it and get her back pushed against the cage, but she can take Chiasson down there too. Chiasson's been taken down by Kianzad, by Marion Renault, by Lena Landsberg. Like, obviously, Ketlen Vieira can take her down too. I don't know if she's going to be urgent in doing so, but kind of whoever lands takedowns here is going to win, because I don't know that Chiasson's going to easily get up from her back as well. It's just a tough one because I want to pick Ketlen Vieira. I just think she's a better defensive wrestler, and I think she's a more effective distance striker. But when I picture how the fight is going to play out, I do think Chiasson is probably better processed at this point. I think she has physical advantages. So I'm perfectly fine leaning that direction as well. I think it kind of just comes down to who lands the takedowns, really.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, I don't know if you saw my guy Tim Triano in the chat, but he's been keeping track of the line movement on this fight ending via split decision. And it started at minus 350. It is currently sitting, according to his report, at minus 550. So we've been talking about that, the fight here, that line has been getting wider and wider. Shout out, Tim. I appreciate it. Oh, and don't worry, Tim. I completely get that she likes women more than guys. No sweat. And that's what's always kept me warm at night. But I'm just like, man, there were 2 fans. It was me, and then it was this chick, and I had a beer for her. I mean, like, guys, I don't drink beer. I do shots. You know this. So beer in hand, and I'm like, Macy, this one's for you. You cashed a ticket for me. And she went over to the lesbian for a photo op instead, and then walked right on by me, didn't take the beer from me. That I was just like
lesson learned. You got to bring a chick with you next time.
I know, right? I'll have the wife hand her the beer next time. That'll get it done. Oh man. So all right. Lean towards Macy, but I think Brett brings up a ton of very valid points. And like I said, honestly, I mentioned that Norma Dumont fight very specifically. I think cage push is going to be the plan. Like, I think she knows she's not going to be able to actually take her down. So it's just going to be hold her in place, punch her in the thigh. Like, it's going to be a lot of really boring cage control, and pray the judges smile on you for this one. So not getting involved betting wise, but hoping Macy gets it done.
Sounds like a fantastic 15 minutes.
Oh, I know, right? Like, we got to bookend with this with some violence here. Salt Dirt asking if I've signed the petition to strip Jon Jones. No, but I should, because I've been pumping out anti-Jon Jones memes and everything for the last, couple of months. So I'm very much I've been paid by the PFL to spread anti-Jon Jones propaganda on social media. So that's what I'm focusing on these days.
I've done some of that too. I'm not a Jones guy. So do you think this fight's happening, or is he completely done? Your opinion he's done?
I think he's done. I mean, he's hanging out with the lady boys in Thailand, getting dunked and stuff like that while he's filming a reality show. Like that, even if he did accept the fight, it wouldn't be until January at this point, because he'd have to get into real shape, and then he'd have to get into fighting shape after that for the fight. So like, I just think we're cooked, man.
He'll come back in a few years when Tim Sylvia decides that he wants to give it another crack. Then Jones will be there.
Dude, I made a tweet very similar to that I was like, Tom Aspinall is going to die of a horrific breaking case of deadly ring rust. And so John Jones is actually going to come back and he's going to win the title off of Curtis Blades because he will have inherited the belt because no one else is in the division. So
that'd definitely be something Jones would do. Yeah.
It would be, right? He'll just outweight the guy that he doesn't like and then make one more run at it, GSP style, take the belt from a weaker opponent. That's John Jones to a T. Oh, man. I could get all riled up and do a whole podcast talking about how much I hate John Jones, but this isn't the time. We'll leave that for another day. I can trace it all the way back. You know, I will tell you, though, Brett, my hatred of John Jones started off unfounded. We're the same age. So part of me was jealous because I started doing jiu-jitsu and this guy won the UFC belt. That I was just like, fuck, man, like different universe. Like maybe those roles are
you could have been the guy.
A pro athlete. Could have been me, right? Could have been me. And so I had this like hatred for him for really no reason. I matured up a little bit and realized, you know what? I'm hating on the guy for literally no reason. He's the best in the world, pretty hard. And as soon as I did that, that's when he heel turned and started like running pregnant women over and shit. That I was like, no, we hate him again. So I'm back on the hater train, man.
Yeah, the outside of the cage antics was probably what did it for me, but we can move on.
That I'm a DC guy. DC all the way. All right. Moving along, guys. We have got Dustin Jacoby, and he takes on Bruno Lopes. Weird fight, man. Weird fight. So Dustin Jacoby, Brett, he's a guy that I will admit to you that I have really, really struggled with as far as predicting his fights correctly. 29-1, 37 years old. He's a career kickboxer. Tried to transition to MMA, didn't go very well. Took a second crack at it, went a little better. Now he's in the UFC, but unfortunately, he's on a bit of a tough skid row. 2-3 in his last 5, actually 2-4 in his last 6. Let me go ahead and make that, but I don't count that because he won the Khalil Roundtree fight. Like we never should have seen Khalil challenge Alex Pereira because he never got past Dustin Jacoby, as far as I am concerned. I'm really having a hard time with him because Jacoby seems like his Durham might be fading him a little bit. Like the Alonzo Menifield decision, where he's getting wobbled left and right all over the place. Alonzo's like one of the worst guys in the weight class. So for him to look like that was just not good in my view. The Dom Reyes round 1 KO, though, I was on Dom Reyes that night in a big way. I was trying to remind everybody about Dom Reyes. And thank God he came through for me. But, Brett, I never expected it to be that easy. Like, I thought he was going to be a little timid. I thought maybe it would go a little later. But that was just a beautiful way to cash a +2 ticket that night. And then Dustin turns right back around and fraud checks Vitor Petrino. Drags this kid into deep waters, beats him up, makes him quit, knocks him out. I mean, just a beautiful performance from him. Vintage Dustin Jacoby. So now I'm stuck here kind of scratching my head like, okay, so which version of Dustin Jacoby really is he? Is he the guy that's getting battered by Alonzo Menifield, or is he the guy that is running circles around this Adonis Vitor Petrino? I don't know what to expect from him coming into this fight. Bruno Lopes is 32 years old. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's 1-0 off Dana White's Contender Series. Now, you guys know I have a plan that I'm still gathering data on. I think these 2 times their series competitors are guys we want to generally fade. This guy is a 2 times Dana White's Contender Series competitor. He's 1-1 in those Dana White's Contender Series showings, and his loss was getting handled, knocked out cold in round 1 by Brinson Ribeiro. Now, jury is out, in my opinion, on Brinson Ribeiro. Another guy that I'm just not sure if he's real or not. And he made it to the UFC. I felt like it was a bit of a fluke. And then him getting taken out by Minyang Zhang and Gedzi Asulov, I was like, okay, so I'm vindicated in this guy not being real. Well, then he wins a split. And it's like, okay, well, that can happen, right? I still don't think he's very real. And then his last fight, he gets a massive KO win over an undefeated prospect. And I'm like, okay, so I don't know what to make of Brinson Ribeiro either, which means I have no idea what to make of Bruno Lopes. This guy is, I'm not really sure what he's good at either, Brett. It's very confusing to me. He keeps a high pace. He's decent in scrambles, but he loses position in those scrambles. He's okay with his like offensive grappling, but it's from the body lock. It's not anything that I'm writing home about. He's got decent power, right? Like, but he also is capable of going the distance. Cardio is okay, I guess. Finishing ability upside. Like, it seems like all the pieces are there, but for some reason, I'm just not 1,000% sold on him yet. So I guess I side with Dustin Jacoby. And the fact that you're getting flatlined by a guy like Ribeiro, Jacoby's a far more talented striker than Brinson Ribeiro is. MMA math works perfectly, by the way, everybody. Like, if you see 1 + 1 = 2 in MMA terms, just every time, no, that's heavy sarcasm. If you guys have never tried to do that with MMA betting, it never works. You cannot do MMA math. I always say it's more like Pokemon, right? Like, you get your 3 starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander. It's a cycle. They always end up going around with each other. If you beat one, that doesn't mean you beat the other. That means the other one is probably actually going to end up beating you. So I am not sure what to make of this fight. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby to win because he's the better, cleaner striker. But I also think that Lopes could win this fight just by being younger, more durable, and more aggressive, right? It's one of those where, like, he could just beast his way to a win in this spot over an aging veteran. So go Jacoby? Like, no, I'm not laying -185.
I love how you use the Pokemon analogy, by the way, instead of like rock, paper, scissors, but both do work. And I
nerd at my core, man.
Yeah, no, I respect it. I hear you. I totally hear you on the analysis on this one. I think the pick has to be Jacoby. He's just a really experienced kickboxer. He's pretty consistent in what he's going to do. Go out there, defend takedowns, throw strikes at a moderate pace, very technical. And Bruno Lopes, I think, is slower. I don't think is as technical as Jacoby. I don't think throws as, won't keep up necessarily with Jacoby on pacing. And there's nothing to suggest Lopes is just going to easily take Jacoby down and finish him on the mat. So I think the pick definitely has to be Jacoby. And you could potentially talk me into being like there being value on his line. The problem is I've been a Jacoby supporter for a while. Like, I've backed him in quite a few fights, and I don't love the career trajectory for him. He's getting up there in age and he's getting hurt more often. And he also tends to fight to the pace of his opponent more than I would like. So, he knocked Petrino out impressively in the 3rd round. I don't think he was clearly winning the fight up until that point. And my fear against Lopes is that Lopes is going to fight at a bit slower pace than Jacoby, kind of by default. And if I knew that Jacoby was just going to double him up on volume, like, Jacoby would be a good bet. But I worry that Jacoby is going to also fight at a slower pace. They'll sort of match each other. And that's where, Jacoby still has technical advantages, but that's sort of where power comes into play, durability comes into play, and it adds a layer of variance to the table where Jacoby's getting hurt. He was hurt by Petrino. He was knocked out cold by Dominic Reyes. He was knocked down by Menefield. He was knocked down by Mirsakanov. And Lopes hits hard. So although I definitely favor Jacoby for technical striking and volume purposes, I do think there are ways that this fight plays out where Lopes can strike competitively, land a couple big shots, or hurt Jacoby. And that does make me nervous, especially because Lopes also has the grappling upside. Again, I don't think it's fair to project Lopes to have much ground success because Jacoby is pretty strong at scrambling up to his feet. He can get taken down. Defense takedowns at 62%. And Lopes probably will take him down, but I don't know that he can hold him down. I thought Lopes' performance against Gadziaslov was all right. I think he looked a little better than I expected. He shot for a ton of takedowns. He shot for 14 takedowns, earned 9 minutes of control, 5 takedowns landed. Like, if he goes out there and wrestles aggressively, he could land a few takedowns, and with that on top of potentially making striking exchanges competitive with power, variance in power, durability, I definitely think Lopes is a live underdog. Like, I think Lopes is surely a live underdog here, given the career trajectory of Jacoby, given that there's variance in striking exchanges, and given that Lopes can be dangerous at times. And so yeah, I'm open to Lopes winning this fight for sure. But if I have to make a pick, I think it has to be Jacoby, just because the most likely outcome of this fight is that he can defend takedowns reasonably, scramble up reasonably, and on the feet, he's just a better minute winner and a more experienced, higher volume, more technical guy.
I agree. I'm with you, man. It just, honestly, this whole card reeks of treacherous chalk to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all guys I don't want to lay a price on, but I think that's the right size. I'm with you. I think Jacoby is probably the side. I'm a little scared of the price tag. You would think in this kind of a fight, he should probably be over the minus 200 mark. Instead, he's minus 185. So, sus, like, switch hats for a second there on that one. That's I feel like when you get it just under that mark that you're looking for the parlay, that might be the buster. You never know. We'll pick Dustin Jacoby here, hold our breath, and move on. Next fight up, we've got Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Billy Ray Goff in a very, very interesting turn of events, Brett. Unfortunately, we lost a fight this week, and these two are now facing one another because their opponents pulled out. Ramiz was supposed to be facing Oban Elliott, who I believe just got a new fight booked recently. And then you've got Billy Ray Goff, who is supposed to be fighting Suk Young Ko, I believe, who
I think they're fighting I think they're fighting each other now too, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. They pulled the straight up switcheroo. Yeah. Both guys that withdrew are now facing each other at a later date. The two guys that are left remaining are fighting each other on this card. So random shenanigans mixing and matching to get these two guys in here together. Ramiz Brahimaj, someone who holds a little special place in my heart, man. 32 years old, 3-3 in the UFC. And I was on an island picking him against Mickey Gall in his last fight. It felt like he was the slight underdog. And that was one of those ones where everybody you could possibly imagine was piling in on the favorite, and that line just never budged. And that's where I felt real good about being on the dog side of it. That it's like, if all of this public money doesn't budge you even one little bit, then I feel like that, there's something that everybody might be missing here. And that fact was that he was training with none other than Belal Muhammad. I've told you guys, training with Belal is the best base in MMA today, okay? It used to be training with Khabib. You only get to train with Khabib if you offer your daughter and firstborn calf and then move out to Russia for 3 years. Most people can't pull that off. So you train with Belal, next best thing. This guy showed massive improvements. He's a stud grappler. He is crazy durable. His only finished loss was when he got his ear blown apart by Max Griffin in the third round of their fight. He took an absolute beating that night, but a la Benoit Saint-Denis, just refused to go down until the referee stepped in and was like, bro, your ear here, I picked it up off the floor. It should go about here on you. So I like the durability. I like the grit. I like the toughness. He took some time off. The striking appears to be catching up to where his grappling was, and I think that could potentially make him a very dangerous person, especially considering he's still in his prime years. So now, not that I think he's going on a title run or anything like that, but I think he'll be a very serviceable fighter, being more than just a pure grappler at this point in his career. Billy Ray Goff, 9-3. He's 26 years old, very young, 1-1 off Dana White's Contender Series, coming off a decision loss to Trey Waters, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. I don't like Trey Waters. I don't like his overall game, but he pretty much played the Matador and just kept on sniping Billy Ray Goff, who was more than happy to be the bull. This guy brawls. He comes forward, and that's what he does. He just wings punches. He's willing to take a punch, to give a punch, and he just wants to break you with pure pressure, and he walks face first into everything. If he can take the damage, great. If he can't take the damage, too bad. That's just how this guy fights. He does a decent job of mixing in takedowns and things like that. I don't think that's going to be an avenue in this fight against a guy like Ramiz. But I think this is a fun fight, man. The only thing is, I really think that Billy Ray Goff needs a brawl to win this fight. And one more time, I'm going to ask the question, what is this line? Billy Ray Goff is minus 350. Ramiz just showed everybody he's real, and they're making him a plus 270 to Billy Ray Goff? What exactly has Billy Ray Goff done in the UFC to warrant a minus 300 plus price tag? What at all has he done to make you believe that he should be that kind of a favorite in this spot? His first fight, he beats Kiyoshida, a 6-3, 24-year-old road to UFC. Everyone hyped up this kid, calling him Asian Conor McGregor and stuff like that. Like, okay, so he's obviously not ready for the big show. Most of the road to UFC guys are not ready for the big show, and Billy punched him out. That's great. That's a fantastic win. But let's not forget, he was pick'em in that spot. He was not even like really expected to be all that much of anything in that fight against that guy. And then he gets decisionated by Trey Waters as an underdog. And Waters is a guy who I'm not even sure is legit. Waters is a guy that I'm not sure is going to turn out at the UFC level. And now all of a sudden he's a minus 300 favorite over Ramiz Brahimaj, who's got 6 UFC fights, far more experience, training with a better camp, more well-rounded. He's got the grappling edge in this fight. I don't get it. I do not get it. I will be betting Ramiz Brahimaj this week, man. Billy Ray might win this fight. Don't get me wrong. Billy might win this fight. And everybody at Spectation Sports is hoping that Billy Ray wins this fight because he's a Spectation guy. He comes from Cage Titans. I'm supposed to be rooting for him. I can't help myself. I'm a gambler. I think Ramiz Brahimaj should be far closer. I think this is a pick'em fight, Brett. I can understand if you want to make Billy Ray a favorite. I get that. I really do. But I think it should be a whole lot closer to like a minus 135, plus 120 type of situation. I don't think it should be anywhere near minus 300. And I will have to fire because I think it's egregious. So, yeah, it's dog or pass for me, man, and I plan on betting it.
Yeah, that's a passionate take. Brahimaj has never won a decision, right? I think he's won one fight outside of the first round. That's correct? Right?
Yeah, no, he's never won a decision, but I mean, Billy's what, 2-2 in decisions? So like,
yeah, but he's 2-2 in decisions. I mean, Trey Waters is 6'5", and like Trey Waters is. I'm not the biggest Trey Waters guy either, but Trey Waters is a man's man, and Billy Ray Goff still went out there and landed more than 100 significant strikes and made it a pretty close fight. And like, my issue with Brahimaj has never been that he can't strike. It's that he can't fight outside of the first round. And in his fights that have been extended, he's pretty much collapsed. Like, he cannot defend takedowns. He just has no gas in the tank at all. He can't produce any offense. And I think it's a really bad matchup for him against Billy. I was going to say Billy Quarantillo. I guess they share the same first name. Billy Ray Goff, who is Billy Quarantillo-esque. Like, I don't know that, like you said something about him needing a brawl to win. I think he's the type that excels in brawls for sure. It's more the dynamic here is that I think Brahimaj has to finish him quickly because I do not think Brahimaj is going to be able to keep up with the pacing of Goff in the second and third rounds. I mean, he's shown no ability to do that throughout his career historically. And that's kind of the only thing that Goff can do. He's a pace warrior. He is tough. He's durable. He has, some wrestling in his game. I do think Brahimaj is live early. Goff has a fight against like Justin Sumter where Sumter took him down in the first round and took his back and like had him mounted and had back mount and flattened him out, I should say. And so I see the path there for Brahimaj potentially landing a takedown early, potentially taking the back, potentially threatening for a submission. I could see Brahimaj landing some bombs early. Billy Ray Goff's not the most defensively sound fighter in the world. I am highly, highly skeptical that Brahimaj can keep up any sort of pacing. I think that's why the odds are where they're at, because to me, it's kind of like, does Brahimaj win this fight very early? Does he win this fight in round one? Because if not, he's probably not winning the fight at all. And so I don't agree that it should be a much more competitive betting line than this, because I could be wrong. And the way that I'll be proven wrong is if Brahimaj actually goes out there and fights a hard 3 rounds and lands 90 plus significant strikes and lands 4 to 5 takedowns, then great. I was wrong, and Brahimaj absolutely can win decisions. Currently, I just don't view him in that light. I think he's dangerous for a few minutes, and then I think he doesn't have much left in the tank to produce offense. And I just think it's a really poor stylistic matchup against someone like Goff, who can give up offense to opponents, can be taken down, can be hit, but is ultra tough, can fight a very hard 3 rounds. And yeah, I think he's, Yeah, I think we'll get some fun early minutes, and if Goff survives those fun early minutes, I think Goff's going to pour it on and probably finish him.
Okay.
So, yeah, it should be a fun fight. It should be a fun fight.
It should be a fun fight, and frankly, I don't mind the cut of the chat here, where a lot of them are talking unders here. I don't mind that one bit, because Brahimaj is developing that striking, like I talked about, and we're getting, let's see, what is it? Well, it's a 1.5. I don't like the 1.5, unfortunately, but if you could get a fight doesn't go at a decent clip, or a 2.5, Brahimaj striking improving, I think, speaks a lot here, because Billy Ray Goff leads with his face. Like, he just is coming off that big KO over Mickey Gall, who isn't really thought of as being somebody with, durability problems necessarily. But Billy Ray Goff, he's been rocked in a lot of fights, man. You watch his tape and he gets rocked and knocked around. And I think if he keeps leading face first, someone's going to get him. Is it going to be Ramiz this week? Maybe not, right? But I think both guys can finish. I think Ramiz can finish early if he gets it to the ground. I think he can finish with a well-timed shot early, and then I believe Billy can break Ramiz and finish round 2, round 3. So yeah, I mean, fight doesn't go the distance is definitely something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, I don't see what is to not go the distance.
1.5. Under is plus 145.
Yeah.
So I don't have alternate totals or anything at this point, but
I don't mind that. I mean, I really don't mind that. I definitely think Goff could get him out of there, even in the first couple rounds for sure. And I think Brahimaj, the majority of his win equity is tied to a round 1 finish. And it just, given the pacing, given the nature of the number of exchanges we'll have, I definitely think someone could get hurt. Again, I'm not the biggest unders guy, but yeah, I'm probably not betting Goff at chalk. I'd probably be looking at Goff inside the distance or unders myself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to play it as well. Hopefully the fight doesn't go the distance line isn't so bad. Yes, Paul. Yes, we can get on to Macy time. All right, guys, we have got over 700 of you tuned in at this point. Thank you all for being here. Again, if you're on other platforms, do me a favor, jump over here and get subscribed on YouTube. If you are on other platforms and you want to follow me there as well, that's fine too. I'll grow those too. Why not? Next up, we've got your co-main event. Mateusz Gamrot takes on Ľudovít Klein. Oh, goodness. This one's interesting to me, Brett, because I feel like Mateusz Gamrot is in this never-ending hole. The UFC doesn't want to see him. They don't want to hear from him. They're doing their very best to bury this man. He went from being the backup to a title fight to being buried as the co-main event against an up-and-coming potential prospect on a terrible fight night card. Like, they want him nowhere near belt, right? That split decision loss to Guram back in 2020 will forever haunt this man as being the moment he lost his opportunity to challenge for a UFC title. He's just relentless with his grappling, 34 years old, so starting to get a little long in the tooth. And he goes to split decisions a lot. Just recently coming off that loss to Dan Hooker, he got the split decision win over Jalen Turner, which personally, I thought damage rules the day. I thought Jalen Turner should have gotten the nod there in that fight. But unless he can find his way to some kind of a submission, which frankly just doesn't happen a whole lot, he's a decision machine. The Rafael Fiziev was an injury. Other than that, he's just been going consistently to decisions via wrestling and grappling for his last 5 or 6 fights or so, and it's just impossible to stop the guy. Eventually, Father Time is going to catch up. The UFC is going to pull a John Jones, and they're going to wait him out. He will get too old. He will get more fragile. He will get finished at some point, and then they'll be done with him. Ľudovít Klein, 23-4-1. 30 years old, coming into his prime right now, absolutely looks the most invested in himself and in his career that we have ever seen. I've struggled a little bit with Klein because I thought he got fraud checked a little early. The loss to Michael Trezano, I was just like, oh boy, like that's bad. You shouldn't be doing that. And then the draw with Jai Herbert is like, oh, that hurts a little too. But then he's rattled off 4 real good wins in a row. Ignacio Bahamondes, the AJ Cunningham, I tried to bet against him that night. I tried to take a long, big-time dog shot on AJ. Didn't work out very well. Round 1 finish there. Thiago Moises, Roosevelt Roberts. I mean, he still hasn't really taken another leap up into the actual contender circle, and that's what he's doing here. And frankly, he's going into the deep end because Gamrot's a guy on his best night, could be challenging for a title potentially. So this is a big opportunity for Ľudovít Klein. But he's tanky, he's muscular, he's short, he's got solid, big, thick tree trunk legs, hard to take down. His best weapon is like that left side body kick that he likes to go to. He's got some punishing offensive strikes, and he went from being like this real flashy, dynamic finisher to a grinding decisionator. It's like he embraced the grind and took that very literally. Now he can offensively wrestle. He can counter grapple pretty well. And he just doesn't have those big flashy strikes and finishes the way that he used to against these higher levels of competition. Mateusz Gamrot, I tried to bet against him with Rafael dos Anjos back at UFC 299. I thought Rafael was going to be able to defend the grappling and then get some offense off in that fight. And that fight was closer, I think, than you would remember it being if you ran back and watched it again. Dos Anjos actually landed a couple of decent big shots. And this is the kind of spot where I feel like if Ľudovít Klein has that same type of game plan, sell out to defend the takedown, punish those takedowns, I think he's far more violent and hits harder and is full of way more juice than Rafael dos Anjos is at this point of his career. I could see Ľudovít Klein doing that extremely effectively over a 15-minute fight. And frankly, they want Gamrot nowhere near the title. I think they'll give a close fight to Klein also just to get rid of him. So for me, it's dog or pass. I think Klein very well could do the damage over control, split decision victory type of thing in this spot. I think he could land the perfect shot, knock out Gamrot if he times it just right. And then I think robbery is in the back pocket. I know I've been talking a lot of dogs on this card, you guys, but that's the kind of card we're dealing with. These greasy, mangy undercards where it's just all low-level fighters and guys that are in the middle of the pack. You get these underdogs barking on these types of cards. I think Ľudovít Klein is probably the betting side for me. The older Mateusz Gamrot gets, the less I'm interested in backing him in close fights. So lean Klein, not sure if I'll pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I really wanted to get there on Klein because I've been kind of fading Gamrot recently as well. Like I was on Dan Hooker last time. And I've kind of come around on Klein as well. I don't know if I just mixed up my names there. I was on Hooker against Gamrot, and like I was off Klein early on in his career, and I've come around a bit. I think he's a pretty effective striker. The problem is just that Klein really hasn't faced a level of wrestling that Gamrot will bring. And he's had not like struggles, but, you know, he's taken down, submitted by Landwehr. He's taken down by Jai Herbert. And I think those are the only two times in his career he's been taken down. Like, who are the best wrestlers that Klein has fought? Mason Jones, Thiago Moises.
Yeah.
Who I don't really respect that
I mean,
much.
Nate Landwehr maybe could go in there, but
it's just they're not on the level of Gamrot, and that's kind of the unfortunate truth of it. And not only are they not on the technical level of Gamrot, Gamrot's attempting like a takedown per minute, and he's landing more than 5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and it's just really difficult to look into this fight and come away with anything but Gamrot probably lands a few takedowns or more. And once you start projecting that, I just come away with that. I think Gamrot's probably the side. I definitely think Klein is a more effective striker. And I agree that Klein, if he's getting kickboxing rounds, can win. I think he can hurt Gamrot. Part of the reason I've been off Gamrot is because I think he's chinny. I mean, he's been knocked down by 5 of 10 opponents. That's really, really bad. And I thought
RDA was going to do it, man. I really did. I took a shot on the 10-1. It was 10-1 RDA by KO, and I thought I was going to get it.
He almost did. And I think we'll probably see Gamrot knocked out at some point, and we'll definitely see him knocked down again. It's kind of predictive at this point when you're getting knocked down by half of your opponents over a 10-fight sample. And so I could definitely see Klein winning. At the same time, one of the issues I've always had with Klein is that he's too slow paced. He's not urgent enough. He's never exceeded 60 significant strikes in 10 UFC fights. And that's a problem because it means that when this fight plays out in the feet, Gamrot is going to be able to keep up with him on a volume count. Like Gamrot just landed 64 significant strikes on Dan Hooker. That's more than Klein's landed in his entire career. I think that Klein is a more effective striker, but because of his lack of pacing, like Gamrot's willing, and if Gamrot can just keep it close and not get badly hurt the additional 1 to 2 takedowns per round, which I think are reasonably likely, is I just have to favor Gamrot. So I can understand the idea of being on Klein, and I definitely think there are outcomes where Klein wins, and I think he has damage equity, and maybe will show that his takedown defense can translate to a better level of competition. But ultimately, Gamrot is just the best wrestler he's ever faced. Gamrot's the most persistent wrestler he's ever faced. And even in some wrestling exchanges against weaker competition, he's gotten taken down. He's slowed down late in fights. And like Gamrot's going out there and taking down Arman Tsarukyan 6 times and taking him down twice in round 4 and twice in round 5. Like, I just kind of worry about the second half of this fight for Klein. So yeah, I lean toward Gamrot, and I'm not necessarily excited to bet him, but if the betting line keeps closing, then I might get on it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to avoid this one. Like I said, bad memories on both sides here. Haven't really been able to do well against betting on or against either of these fighters. I think the last time I won a bet for or against on either side of this one was when I got the Guram Katuteladze robbery split decision. So I'm not touching this one, man. I can't get either of these guys right. So lean Klein, which means mortgage the house and put it on Gamrot, because he'll have one more in him this weekend. All right, guys, that'll do it. Main event time. Let's get into it. We have got the future on the line. Literally, Erin Blanchfield takes on Macy the future Barber, and this should be every diehard's delight, man, because both these girls have been on an absolute tear in the UFC. They've been building their cases, and now finally they're at the point where they're clashing at the top end of the division, and a title shot is going to be in sight for one of these women very soon. Blanchfield, 26, Macy Barber, 27. Barber was trying to say that she was going to beat John Jones' record and all that stuff. The UFC's been behind her for a real long time. Blanchfield came kind of out of left field, and she's just been mauling people. Her offensive grappling and her heavy pressure style, like, it's been working for her. And now they clash. I can't wait for this fight. The question mark that I have is whether or not Macy Barber is truly going to be healthy. Now, she's coming off of a long layoff. She had a bit of an injury, and I think people are worried that she's not going to make it to the cage. But man, she's doing Sylvester Stallone style like workouts in garage gyms with like chains and shit. Like, she looks like she's in incredible shape right now. So I don't think we need to be worried about Macy Barber making it to the cage, you guys. She had that one big bad injury earlier in her career, and she got sidelined a while for that. She knows when to come back and when to come back healthy, and I don't think she would make the mistake of coming back if she wasn't truly ready. She knows what's on the line here with a win or a loss. So I'm expecting a good version of Macy Barber to be there on Saturday. Now, Erin Blanchfield, really strong grappler. That striking has evolved. It's come a real long way. She threw like 400 strikes against Rose Namajunas in their 5-round fight. She put up over 100 significant strikes in that fight, which is incredibly impressive against a former champion. Granted, Rose up a weight class, so little asterisk there, but still one of the better fighters in women's MMA ever. So still somebody that we need to be respectful of having that kind of a performance against. Blanchfield will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this fight. Barber is just a beast, man. She's physical. I used to have a bit of a thing where I didn't like Macy Barber. I wanted to like fade her and bet against her. I wanted to get one back on her. Why? Because I lost the split decision backing Miranda Maverick back in 2021. And it was a whole thing. It stuck with me forever because I always wanted to get that one back. And I burned money trying to bet against her with like Andrea Lee, which again, she slipped through my fingers on that one as well. And finally, I just sucked it up and I went, you know what? We need to stop trying to bet against Macy Barber. We need to bet on Macy Barber. And I ended up taking the KO prop at plus 400 against Amanda Hebos. And it was beautiful. And now she's my queen. And now we're all Team Barber, baby. I'm in the boat. We're burning them. We're not going backwards. We're with Macy Barber until the end. So I am on the train. Barber's going to be 1 inch taller. She's got 53% takedown defense, which I got to say is maybe a little concerning considering Erin Blanchfield's ability to shoot takedowns and offensively grapple here. I expected Barber's takedown defense to be a little bit better than that, just based off of pure memory. And it's interesting because the stats actually show, based on the numbers, Barber's got better offensive wrestling than Erin Blanchfield does, which you would think Erin is the wrestler, right? She's the better wrestler. Barber actually shoots like 0.3 more takedowns per 15 minutes. She's got a 43% accuracy when compared to Blanchfield's 31% accuracy. So in my mind, Blanchfield is like this chain wrestling machine, and actually she's not. And Barber shoots more often than she does and gets them more often than she does. So weird situation with the stats, because I think Erin's the better grappler, but the numbers say that Barber is. So I'm not sure what to do with that. Yes, Tim with a massive point here. Macy losing to Roxanne. Everyone will say that she tore her ACL that fight. Forgot that Roxanne was legally blind in that fight. One working leg versus a blind person. The fighter that has eyes should win. And it's a very valid point. It's a very valid point. I think Macy's going to steal big moments here with big power shots and strikes. But I worry that Blanchfield is just going to pace her over a 25-minute fight. I want to bet on Macy Barber here, you guys. Like I said, I'm all in. I'm Team Barber now for God knows what reason. I've just decided I'm on the train. I think there's some live dog value here. I think we could get a competitive fight here, but the takedown defense scares me. Coming off an injury scares me. The volume scares me. The fact that Blanchfield has the 25 minutes already in her back pocket against a legend scares me. Like every arrow I can find points me towards Erin Blanchfield being the side in this fight. So I have to pick Erin Blanchfield, but I'm very, very cautious about laying this kind of a price tag in this particular fight. Minus 240-ish is your favorite, Erin Blanchfield. The over 4.5, since we do have overs, I might as well mention, it's minus 230 for the over 4.5. I think that actually might be the best bet here on the board, because I'm not sure either of these women is finishing in a fight like this. Both of them are so tough. I mean, I think both of them are capable of finishing. I'm just not sure either of them is capable of being finished, I think is maybe a better way to put it. So I think the over might be a better way to play it. Blanchfield by decision, probably the most likely outcome. I'll say Blanchfield gets the win. Kind of rooting the other way. What are you doing here, Brett?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly straightforward pick. My problem with Blanchfield is that she just isn't a good wrestler. I mean, she is a willing wrestler and she's a very, very good submission grappler. She is not a good wrestler. Mm-hmm. And it's put her in this weird position, not just against Barber, but against Filho and against pretty much whoever else she faces at the top of the division. Like, if Blanchfield's landing takedowns, then she's most likely winning the fight. But if she isn't landing takedowns, then she's very well losing the fight. And she's not a good wrestler. So, like, I think I didn't bet on Filho against Blanchfield, but I think that was a pretty sharp bet by those who did, because, you know, it was a 50-45, not one-sided metrics-wise, but, like, Blanchfield is a really strong submission grappler. She's a really strong paced fighter. She has issues elsewhere. And, like, I love that she threw 400 significant strikes against Rose Namajunas, and she did the exact same thing to Filho. Like, her pacing is outstanding. She just is not physical enough to be impactful with the strikes she lands. So, like, her striking count, I wouldn't take it at face value compared to other fighters who land that same number of strikes. And similar with her wrestling, she has physical issues. So I just don't think she's likely to have a ton of wrestling success against the best girls in this division. And that's what makes me nervous against Macy Barber. Macy Barber's a physical fighter, and there is a chance that Blanchfield just can't take her down, or at least can't take her down with consistency. And if that happens, Barber's the more effective striker, I think. Barber's probably going to be landing the more damaging shots. It's, I think, a path to victory for Barber. But if I have to make a prediction, it's going to be that Blanchfield ultimately does find a couple takedowns, because, like you noted, Barber really doesn't have the strongest takedown defense. It's 53%. She's also been taken down by 6 of her last 7 opponents, I think, or 7 of her last 8 opponents. So it's not like, oh, wow, she just got taken down 7 times by Tagir Ulanbekov. Everyone she fights takes her down at least once. And considering Blanchfield will attempt takedowns at a moderate rate, I think you have to project a few takedowns landed for Blanchfield, and that's enough. I mean, that's just enough for me to favor her outright, especially considering she'll also probably throw strikes at a higher rate than Barber. So if the fight plays out in the feet, although I'd favor Barber, like Blanchfield will keep up a strong enough pace where that rounds can still be competitive, and any additional grappling time should swing rounds clearly in her favor. I think she has like some finishing equity on the ground, and Barber has some, knockout equity. I wouldn't bet on either side. I think it's pretty likely for this fight to go the distance. But yeah, I think Blanchfield is the pick because of her pacing and her superior wrestling. And ultimately, I do think she is likely to land a few takedowns. But from a profiling standpoint, Blanchfield is definitely a risk in general, and she's a risk at this type of price tag because the part of her game that hinges on her success is wrestling, where she's just not that effective. And so kind of against she's getting shut out by JJ Aldrich, and she's getting shut out by Tyler Santos.
That's the one that concerns me. The JJ Aldrich fight is the one that concerns me.
Yeah.
Because I think Barber can do something similar here and just be more physical and win moments with big strikes.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. Ultimately, Blanchfield did find ways to win those fights, which is a credit to her. But it's like once you start getting minus 300 price tags, am I willing to take the risk? Probably not. I don't think I'm betting Blanchfield here. She is the pick to win, but if she's not on top of Barber, she's probably not winning this fight clearly. Man, she might be losing.
Brett, you're talking me into a flyer on Maycee Barber here. You really are, just because the Blanchfield fight is the one that really stood out on paper to me. And the fact that it was won via relatively fluky guillotine, like she stuck her neck out, Erin timed it right, jumped on it. That is not happening with Maycee Barber. That will not happen in this fight, right? Like, I'll plant my flag this week, you guys, and I'll say Blanchfield is not going to guillotine Maycee Barber here. So if that doesn't happen, that fight plays out for another 5 minutes, and it could be 2 rounds to none going into the third for the fighter who doesn't belong in the contender circle here. Like, that could have been a horrific out on the record of Blanchfield. Now, great fighters find a way to win. I've always said that. So that's good on her, like you said, for finding a way to win. I just don't see Macy making that kind of a mistake. So if the grappling doesn't get going early, I think Macy's going to land the bigger shots. The volume of Erin is great, but if Macy's countering with bigger, more effective shots, that's still going to steal moments. And that's why I really don't like the minus 240 price tag. Gut tells me this is going to be close down the stretch. It might be like a 2-2 going into 5 type of situation. And that's why I say I think the over is probably the better bet here.
Yeah. I mean, the Macy decision's like, what, plus 400 or something like that.
Do we have props? Do we have props? Let me pull up Bet Online. Let me see.
Yeah, I see them there, but I mean, she's probably not pounding out Blanchfield to a knockout or submitting
plus
her,
400.
So.
Barber by decision plus 400. I don't mind that at all, Brett. I like that.
Yeah. Again, I'm not the type to take bigger flyers, but I think if Barber wins, it's probably by decision. The majority of her win equity lies there, and same with Blanchfield. I think maybe a little bit of submission equity, but I think this is like a good test for Blanchfield. She should need to go out there and prove her wrestling is good enough to take Barber down if she ever wants another title shot.
Absolutely. Right there with you. All right, guys. That is UFC Vegas 107. Brett, my guy, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you. Salter, you need me to redeem myself as the Bantamweight King? Excuse me? Redeem myself? Sir, how many people told you that Bekov was going to absolutely flatline Discount Kai Kara France in round 1? Like, what is this redeem myself thing? What is this? All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Brett is one of the OGs in the game. He is a fantastic content creator. He is a wonderful gambler. Excellent DFS bettor. So if you guys don't know him, please spread the love. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the comments on. So if you guys want to jump in the chat and go ahead and share the love, we can see it on the screen. Brett, my friend, Brett, my friend, that's what that was supposed to be. The floor is yours, man. Let the people know how they can support you, where they can find you. And my guy, Paul, not missing the fact, and Dan as well, that my dog is barking as we close out the main event preview. So maybe the dog is a little bit live. But Brett, tell the people where they can find you, where they can support you, and what you've got going on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's always good to chat with you. You can find me at establishtheRun.com. That's where all my content is at currently on Twitter, Brett Apley, T, as the kids say. If you're looking for DraftKings content, that's where we have it. We do full written breakdowns every single week, projections, rankings. If you want advice on how to excel from a DraftKings perspective, how to compete on DraftKings, I would highly recommend checking out establishtheRun.com or following me on Twitter. But follow my man Clint as well. I'm sure all of you are. Make sure you give the show a like. He's out here weekly grinding MMA content in the streets. I respect it. And wish you all the best moving forward, my man.
How exactly do I win best ball, Brett? Can you give me the secret sauce? How do I win best ball?
They got it on ETR there too. You got to do a lot of stacking. You got to have the week 17 matchups memorized. Don't pick the guys who get injured. That's a lot of it as well.
Good advice. Good advice. Thank you very much, Brett. We really appreciate you for coming on, man. Everybody tuning in and watching, over 700 of you live. I appreciate you all being here as well. Jump in the comments afterward. Let me know what your favorite plays are for UFC Vegas 107. Of course, we'll have Clint's hot props coming to you later in the week. The total takedown. We've got totals, so maybe I can actually do that one a little early for you this week. We'll see. And then, of course, the undefeated post-weigh-in show on Friday, which hopefully I should have the correct cord so I can actually bring good sound for you guys once again on the Friday show. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support. Get out there, win some bets, hit some degenerate parlays, save up some bankroll, and let's crush the remainder of 2025 collectively. We're going to get this shit going together. Thank you again, Brett, for being here. You guys hit the like button on your way out, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you can get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you can get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they is not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you can get popped. If you was looking wealthy, did a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they is not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Walk in the street like a dope kid, look like a Hollywood movie wrote this. Might just ride and think about some shit, hit a quick lick and run on some dumb shit. I be getting hard by danger, hit a quick lick then masturbate later. Girls be hot and dumb for reasons, they think her shit fun. It be the danger, it be my post, rising knowing that I could get caught. But I be the boss and it be the thought of all of the cash a nigga just got broken. Head crack it and it's open, steal all your money right up in one motion. Just go right with a flow like ocean, this not a game but we out for tokens. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they when I stop. I caught a stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they on time. I caught a stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Check it, where's zealot, cashy, don't app it. Nah, I'm trying to get all this money, my nigga, yo, I be an addict. I'm trying to run me some elbows and I don't care if it costs static. This ain't no play, this ain't no theater shit, don't be dramatic. I like to think about things like why do we steal? Shit, why? I be in some robber and shit, like see how you feel. Yo, see how you feel, bitch. When all of a sudden like make you fucking go broke, you be gon' broke. You could be down and niggas will just fucking joke, they just gonna joke. Until you get all the cash. Then they your biggest fans. Hey, Outcast, can I give like 100? Shut the fuck up, bitch.